Okay. The Hangout on air is live. Dang.
We did it.
Return to form, man. Look at this. Okay. Well, this is it. This is back in the saddle.
Yeah, it's like City Slickers 2,
Yeah, The Legend of Curly's Gold.
Part 3.
Part 3. Curly's Gold Part 3. Does that make it like City Slickers 5? If it's like...
No, it would be Part 4,
2?
because City Slickers 2 would be, it's not like Half-Life. So City Slickers 2 is City Slickers 2 Part 1.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Unless
Okay.
they make a City Slickers Part 2 in the middle. Also, I'm getting some delayed. Do you have YouTube open?
Yes. Whoops. Alright. Weird. Okay. Cool. So we're good now. That was weird. Could you hear that?
Yeah, I could.
Oh, because maybe Studio can hear everything from the computer?
No, I think it's because it was faint, like the echo of me hearing myself. Something about your setup is just...
I wonder if it's like if it can hear this through here.
I think it can, which is
I
weird.
don't like that.
Or actually, it's maybe backwards. It's like it can hear that. Like, put your hand in front of it and like see what happens. I'm talking to you
Hello?
right now. Ba 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 ba. I can still kind of hear myself. I don't know.
Okay, weird. I don't know. That's weird. Internet's a weird place, man. Internet's a weird place.
Yeah, I've been there for a
Okay.
while.
Yeah, I went there to check it out a couple weeks ago.
I
It was
got
nice.
tickets. Me and the
Ticket to the internet.
me and the girlfriend are gonna spend a couple weeks down in .com.
Oh, good. That's one of my favorite .coms.
Yeah.
So I've been on this kick recently. Right now I'm eating really salty chips with salsa, which I tend to do often.
You do like your chips and sauce.
I do like my chips and salsa, but in recent days I have been on a dark chocolate like super kick, and all I've been eating like every day is like I try to eat a bar of dark chocolate. I've heard it's good for you. I don't know if I believe that, but it's delicious, and so I'm really into it right now.
There are a lot of serious words on that packaging.
Yeah, no, this is it's fancy. So, Ghirardelli dark chocolate, intense dark, evening dream, 60% cacao. Moments of timeless pleasure. Like, this is like a romance novel.
Yeah. You need like a box of wine and like a Nora Stevenson book, and you're set.
Yeah, just in Fabio caressing my chest hair.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, most of that's not happening. Create your own perfect moment with Evening Dream. Our luxuriously deep and velvety 60% cacao dark chocolate with notes of ripe red fruit flavors and a creamy mouthful delivers an unrivaled chocolate intensity. Find your moment of timeless pleasure with Ghirardelli's intense dark chocolate. So, that's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good.
It is.
What's really nice is you beat Ninja Gaiden this evening,
Oh my god, dude, I did.
dude. I haven't done that.
So, on my Twitch stream, what I do is there's a donation button. People can donate whatever much money they want, right?
Sure.
The top 3 donors each month get to pick games for me to stream.
Okay.
So one of my friends, Ramses, he's about to start watching the podcast in a minute here. He suggested that I do Ninja Gaiden, and I was like, "Oh, you jerk! Like I've been
Yeah.
trying my whole life to beat that game, and I'm just gonna struggle with it." And I did. It took me 2.5 hours to beat the game, which is it sounds good if you've played the game. You're like, "Wow, 2.5 hours," but for as short as the game actually is, it was not the best performance.
Right.
I did have some actual Ninja Gaiden speedrunners watching my stream, kind of giving me some tips at certain points, which was extremely
nice.
helpful. Yeah,
That's pretty cool. Okay.
but I was struggling to finish it. And I don't know if people watching know, but if you get to the last boss of Ninja Gaiden and you die, you just lose 1 life at him. You go back 3 levels and have to push through all over again.
Basically, all the way to 6-1.
Yeah.
Because it's divided, what, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3.
And then the boss.
Die at the boss, you go back
You
to
go back
6-1.
to 6-1. No, what I did not know, because I'd never gotten this far, is that if the final boss has 3 forms, which I did know. What I did not know is that if you kill one of the forms and die, you go from 6-1 all the way back, that form stays dead.
I don't think I knew that. Okay.
Yeah. And the nice thing, too, is like, because if you try and do it in one shot, they take away your sub-weapon.
Oh, yes.
So it's kind of like a given, unless you're amazing, that you're going to die, 6-1, fight back, kill the second part, die, 6-1, fight back.
Right.
But I was struggling, and I paused after dying and going back to 6-1, and I was like, you know what? I need some Sunny D.
That's right. That's right.
So I drank a big mouthful of Sunny D, and I started like just blazing through the level. I got to the boss. I paused it again. I took another drink. Flawless performance. I think he may have hit me once.
Wow.
But I did it.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that you brought up that there's a juice, a steroid, if you will, like that sort of prompts you through this. And Dan Bordiano, one of my longtime friends and former employee at Gamers Anonymous, he actually was. We were struggling to beat Castlevania one night. I've beaten the game before, and he could not. So he got stuck at death, which, you know, the death trap is...
Yeah.
Death is harder than the last boss himself. Death is harder than Dracula in that game.
It's true.
So what we did for Dan is I can't remember what we called it. It might have been something along the lines of Game Fuel, because this is maybe before the Mountain Dew thing, because I think it was before like Halo was getting like super crazy. I think before even 3 had come out. And so I don't know if Game Fuel was a thing. It might have been. Whatever the case, I said, all right, Dan, here's the challenge. You have to beat death, and you have to take a single drop from this eyedropper of Habanero 750 Habanero extract. Now this comes like in a box that has like a warning label, like literally a foot long, wrapped around like the box twice, basically, because it's really big. And it's straight habanero extract, and it's supposed to be administered with an eyedropper because you need to put like 1 to 2 drops in like an entire pot of something to heat it up. And in our youth, we would apply this directly to the tongue because we were in super challenge mode, right? And it is really bad.
Yeah.
Like, it makes anybody cry. So Dan's challenge was to put a drop on his tongue and then play Castlevania. Lo and behold, he beat death under the influence of Habanero 750. Incidentally, like the way it was written, Habanero 750, it also had like a sort of like a checkerboard like flag pattern, so it was like a NASCAR like themed like packaging. It was really strange, but it prompted him through the game. And anytime we'd play other games, like I'd make him play a Kid Icarus or Monster in My Pocket with this Game Fuel or whatever it was called, Game Sauce, I don't know. And I don't know if he would actually perform better, but this was the challenge.
Game Sauce, like you liquefy like micro machines and then pour it on a hot dog.
Yeah, exactly. Codemasters like themed condiments. So I'm super proud and very impressed by you beating Ninja Gaiden.
Thank you.
The only tactic I knew in this game was if you were in danger of getting killed before getting to the boss, like you were in say 6-3 before the boss, would be to die in 6-3 because you'd restart at the beginning of 6-3 and you had a better chance of making it to the boss door.
Right.
But then you also lose a life.
Yeah,
So,
well,
like,
you're going to lose a life anyways at the
true.
boss, so
That's true. That's true.
you have to take that risk. That's definitely a calculation you make.
Okay. But, Fan, how do you feel?
The last time I felt this way, the last 2 times I felt this way were when I finished Mike Tyson's Punch-Out like 3 years ago, and when I finished Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the year before that.
That's not bad. Those are pretty big accomplishments.
Yeah, just getting those games from your childhood off your back finally, it's huge.
So, what do you still have yet to conquer? Like, as far as like the nightmares of your youth that are still remaining? Did you ever do Ghosts and Goblins?
When I was a child, I did. No, I didn't use the level select code, but I can't do it anymore. No. And I certainly can't do the second loop through on any of them.
Yeah.
So those are all things that are hanging over me. I've always wanted 100% Kirby's Dream Course, and I've never come anywhere close to doing that.
Okay, yeah, that would be rough.
Let's see, what else? I do want to get all the endings in Kid Icarus, which is pretty tough.
Certainly, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay, so you have a decent backlog. Would you say, like, you've got... Are you planning to do these yearly, at least one major conquest a year, or is it as people assign them to you and you decide to tackle them?
It's kind of as people assign them to me. One of the other games that's on me right now is Fester's Quest.
Oh,
which
that's rough.
I've made it to the final boss of that game, and like Ninja Gaiden, when you die and you have to go all the way back to the start of the game, sort of. I mean, you go back to the starting point, but everything's dead.
Right, you keep everything, but it's... in Fester's Quest, you have continues or limited lives. I can't remember.
You have 1 life.
Okay.
But you have unlimited continues.
Okay, so you can keep doing it, and everything you've accomplished is basically done. It's just a matter of making your way back to that point to fight the last boss again.
Yes.
Okay, so that's still a pretty decent undertaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Earlier I did Simon's Quest without any sort of guides.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I used a notebook.
Okay,
Which
that's more fun.
I told everyone on the stream, like, that's the secret. Like, you're playing retro games and it's confusing, you're not sure what to do. Draw maps, write down what people say, go from there.
Perfect. Perfect. So have you done all 3 Castlevanias at this point?
I have, yes.
Okay.
Not on stream. I've only done 2 on stream, but I've finished 1, which is hard because I have the early revision copy.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are too many enemies on the screen, the game freezes, and that includes Death's Sights.
Oh, good.
So you pretty much have to keep him on lock as soon as you get to him, or else your game is going to lock up.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Almost like you're beating the programmers at that point.
Yeah.
All right.
And I've done all the endings in Castlevania 3. I played the living crap out of that game. I love that game so much.
Okay.
I've done Castlevania 4 as well, but I've never beaten Dracula X.
The Super Nintendo or PC Engine?
Either.
Either. Okay. Okay.
Or the PSP version,
Okay.
which is actually pretty fun.
Yeah. No, the PSP version's not bad. It doesn't feel quite as clean in terms of like movement simply because they're 3D models, but the gameplay is still actually very solid. And it's a good game. Okay. Excellent.
What about you? What have you been?
I've been playing a lot of Smash Brothers and Theatrhythm. I say Theatrhythm because I think of theatrics. So
Yeah, that's what I like to. I like to say that as well. Theatrhythm.
Okay. And I'm never sure, but like Theatrhythm is my pronunciation. I'm playing a lot of that.
Got it
And
down right now, actually.
yeah, actually, and it's fun because to those who don't know, we actually started a Facebook group recently where we can challenge each other's high scores and post to each other, and I'm doing the exact same thing because it's a very addicting game to have on hand, and you can just sit down for like 2 minutes, play a song, challenge yourself.
I did an online match while I was taking a poop today.
Oh, good, yeah. And the online matches are a lot of fun just because they're really simple. It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
You just directly fight each other. You can either do so we have basic, expert, ultimate, or ultimate EX. And the first 3 options have a mode where as you do well, you do like critical hits. You can actually send attacks over to the other person, which makes like their notes wobbly, or they have to get a critical hit, or they get a bad, or it adjusts the speed. It hides the arrow notes and things. A lot of different effects to sort of fight the other opponent. Or there's just straight battle mode where it's only an ultimate score and it's literally points head to head, and that's it.
Yeah.
Ton of fun.
I played against a guy in ultimate mode today, and he was extremely good.
Mm-hmm.
Like he, what song was it? There was some song I think it was the Final Fantasy X-2 song that I challenged you to earlier today, where I was like, oh,
yes.
this'll trip him up. Completely full criticaled it.
Oh, dude. Okay. That's pretty impressive.
But I did manage to, like, he was just like that. We did Battle to the Death from Final Fantasy VI.
Okay.
And I got 3 greats.
song.
I got 3 greats again, and he got 2 greats.
Oh,
Like
dang.
he was just on top of me. I only beat him once, but I felt like so proud of myself when I did.
Yeah, when you beat somebody that good, that's awesome. That's super awesome. So, there's actually a lot to talk about in the world of gaming right now. We could get into Ebola,
Yeah.
because that's a big video game thing at the moment.
I have this thing. I have a headline up here from Facebook. Afro Man remade because I got high.
I saw that.
So we could talk about that.
Talk about Afro Man. I wanted to talk about Maniac Mansion. I was thinking about Bernard. I guess like an HD remake is coming of that, and then I started thinking of Bernard, and like he's a very pasty guy, and I'm sure like that he's got like really big. I feel his last name is Bernoulli, Bernard Bernoulli, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. There's a
So-
like a scientist named Bernoulli, so probably.
Yeah, and so I'm pretty sure he has really big nipples, like pepperonis, but like big pepperonis. And so I was thinking about his nipples today. I don't know why, but when I think of Italians, I think of big nipples, and or I guess big areolas. And so I thought that would be fun to discuss the anatomy dynamics of the Maniac Mansion crew.
If your nipples were like pepperonis, would your areolas be like pizzas, or would you like your chest just be like a whole pizza with 2 lonely pepperonis on it.
And like you just have like some sort of like weird eczema in the middle that's shaped like a pizza.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that the nipples themselves, because normally a nipple makes milk, maybe the nipple makes the cheese that goes onto the pizza.
Well, the nipple could make the milk that makes the cheese.
Right. I guess, but like it comes out pre-cheesed.
Oh.
It's like it's sort of like a it's like a Mr. Popeil invention where he it does it for you, so you don't have to worry about it.
I barely understand how nipples work, anyways, but I'm pretty sure that there aren't glands big enough to push cheese out unless it's like really hot.
That's it. Well, yeah, no, it's steamed cheese. And the nipples actually expand. It's kind of like the butthole. Like the butthole's really tight, but when a poop needs to show up, like it'll do what it needs to do. You know?
Yeah.
So like the nipple might bleed if it's not used to it. That's the risk you take, which you might argue is sauce, but it's just blood.
Yeah, it is.
So.
But it's like it's seasoned blood.
Yeah.
It's got herbs and spices.
Right. It's like Papa John's.
It's Papa John's blood.
Right. Naturally.
Yeah.
Incidentally, we actually have a couple new features in the Cyber Zone this evening. I don't know if I have to enable them. We have a thing called Showcase where I can send you guys links directly. I'm going to keep the Q&A open, though, if anybody wants to ask questions, because that's what makes the Cyber Zone so good. But apparently there's like a new applause feature, and somebody can be like, oh, cool, and press a button and like... I don't know actually how it works, because it just popped up for me this evening. It said you can make people applause for your show.
Well, if you're watching... I don't want to force you to applaud, but
yeah, but I'm curious.
If we do something cool, check it out.
My eyes are all watery tonight. It feels good. What else have I been playing? I picked up The Evil Within a couple nights ago, and I started playing it. And so far, the first like 20 to 30 minutes is where I'm at, because I didn't get a chance to play. I was really tired, and I just wanted to try it. It's a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
It's the control is because right now it's stealthy, and not only that, but like this guy like slashed one of my legs with a chainsaw, so like I'm also sort of gimping around. And it's interesting because the graphics are they're good and they're great. The opening cutscene, kind of hard to tell if it was pre-rendered or not, but it looked more like a 360 game than it did for Xbox One. And now that I'm playing, they're like throwing some really good effects in there, so it looks like, oh, this is really good. There's some great fog, some great reflections, dynamic lighting. So it's a good-looking game for certain. But like, nothing about it is wowing me at this point. Like, the sound is good, the voice acting is fine, it's got good lighting. But even like the design of the game, the creatures and the monsters and like things that I've seen, I feel bad because like it's supposed to be Shinji Mikami return to form. This is scary. You're going to be so freaked out. And everything that I've seen so far in this game is like if they sent out a questionnaire to the ICP fan club and were like, what would you think would be a cool scary game? And they were like, all of this, and then that's what they put in the game. So like it feels like it's really pandering to an audience that's not normal Resident Evil fans or survival horror fans. So like the first monster that you fight, of course, is like what would be cool? Oh, if you're in like a gross butcher shop and there's blood and it's so gross and there's tiled walls. Okay, check. Now what would make the monster gross? Oh, he has a cool creepy mask on and spikes and there's blood everywhere and he has a chainsaw hand or whatever. Okay, check. And like it just feels like it's not hitting the mark. Like because the game is cool, but it's not scary at all. It just feels like they just threw together a bunch of ideas that sounded neat to a bunch of people that don't know what neat ideas sound like. So, like I've only played a little bit, so I have to give it, like a bit more time before I'm fully critical. But at this point, I'm not seeing that, this is going to be like, dude, finally, it's about time. I trust Shinji Mikami, but we'll see,
See, I don't know if you can trust him, because every game he's made has been his return to form.
That's true.
Like,
but because he made God Hand, I trust him.
Okay.
Like if I threw my baby at Shinji Mikami and he just stepped out of the way and let it splat into a big greasy pile like the puppies in Earthworm Jim 2, because he made God Hand, I would still trust him. Are you eating chocolate?
No, I have this. I went to the dentist today, and they prescribed me some prescription strength mouthwash.
I think I have the same stuff.
I was told that the stuff tastes terrible.
It gets all the bad words out.
It actually says on the bottle,
Yeah.
note, to minimize medicinal taste, do not rinse with water immediately after use.
Okay.
So I was told, like, you're like, it tastes bad, you're gonna want to wash it out, don't
Yeah.
do that, it makes it taste worse.
I usually don't anyway. I sort of like leave that with like the last taste in my mouth before I go to bed. In the morning, maybe I would. When I'm mouth washing. Huh.
Gotta wash that mouth.
I don't know.
Another thing about the Evil Within that I heard is people were really mad about is that the PC version, they're just botching PC ports. The PC version is locked at 30 frames per second.
That's interesting. Why would they do that?
I don't know, and I think there's a way to go in like the command line and turn that off, but for some reason they locked it at 30 frames per second by
Yeah,
default.
I mean, if the big draw to a PC is, hey, if you've got the specs to run this, turn on the specs to run it, as you know, and capitalize on everything ever. So why would you limit that?
I have no idea.
That's weird. Okay. So I'm excited because after we finish up tonight, I'm going to play a little bit more, and we'll sort of see how it goes. Because I want to give it like a fair chance. I'm sure it's going to be a fun game, but I have a feeling that like the moment that Bayonetta 2 comes out next week, I'll just drop everything without thinking because I don't know if you had a chance like to see anything on the demo, or I don't know if you've checked out the reviews.
I've seen a couple reviews,
but they're pretty glowing. And I am really impressed. And some people have actually said there's almost too much action, like it's almost too non-stop, which for me is a very big selling point. But I'm really happy with the reviews I've seen so far.
I was surprised by Polygon's review actually.
I do want to discuss that one
because they basically gave it a 7.5 because sexism.
And this is interesting to me. So, do you feel that the game should be rated based off of the personal opinion of content, or based on the way that the game is? Like, if the game meets its objectives, it's doing well.
I think that it should be sort of, I don't know. I don't really enjoy review scores to begin with. You and I have talked about this at length, about how they're just kind of a bad idea.
Absolutely.
But the way that I look at a review score, and it's a good way to justify Polygon's review of it, is on a 10-point scale, think of it as if you showed Bayonetta 2 to 10 people, how many of them would love it?
Sure.
So it's reasonable to think that 7 or 8 would be like, oh my god, like the action in this game is so good, it's a ton of fun, and 2 would be like, I'm not really comfortable with all these boob and butt shots. So that's the way I prefer to look at it.
Okay, then that actually makes a lot of sense. It's almost a better review system than what a score would be, because I look at this concept of saying the game is great, but I don't like sexy things or the way it's portrayed, therefore the game takes a hit, rather than this is part of my personal experience. I can understand putting that in terms of review content, saying, hey, this is a great game, it plays super well, the graphics are great, the frame rate's awesome, the bosses are fun. However, it's worth noting that yada 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 based on my opinion.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying I don't like this new Audi because I don't like the color blue and it's a blue Audi.
Yeah.
Well, is the car good? Does the car function? Does it drive like it's supposed to? Is the gas mileage fine? You're not necessarily reviewing the objective factors. You're saying, Mario's Galaxy is a phenomenal game, but I don't really like blue, and Mario wears blue, so it gets an 8.5 instead of a 9.5.
It's flawed, and I think a lot of it comes from just the current climate of what we're dealing with in the gaming community.
And that's actually, a little more pertinent than most things at this point.
But I also think that you should not judge a game like, okay, Bayonetta is very Japanese.
Yes.
It's very Japanese. And culturally, it's a different country. They don't have the same values. We live in a connected world where ideas and culture are shared and things are sort of homogenized. But certain things are acceptable in countries that aren't acceptable here, and vice versa. And that's just one of those things. Where I think if you play Bayonetta, if Japanese people play Bayonetta, I don't mean to generalize, but from what I understand of the culture, women who are playing it would think like, oh, she's so sexy and cool, I love this. Instead of being like, I don't like how much they're showing off her body.
Right. So there's a cultural difference in the review that should almost be at least mentioned or taken into account, but based on a Western review, where it's a very different approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's interesting to me. And I was watching a show on YouTube called Extra Credits a while back, and they made a very good point about the way people review games. So I remember watching a clip, or they had brushed up upon the point where somebody reviewed a game, say, I don't know, Tomb Raider, for whatever game it was Tomb Raider. And, I give the game a 7 out of 10 instead of an 8 out of 10 because I kept dying at this one part. This was too hard for me and I kept dying. So rather than critiquing potential difficulty, they actually criticized the fact that they weren't skilled enough to make it past a certain point, docking the game for something that they weren't able to do. And I found that to be an interesting angle to approach a review from, because it makes sense. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, this game is bad, or, I suck at the controls, or whatever it is, it's interesting I think it's worth noting that, maybe the control had a learning curve to it that you could mention, or maybe, for people who are used to this kind of gameplay, this might be difficult. But instead of saying, the game sucks because I had a hard time with it, the same game might be easy to somebody because they had an easy time with it. So why would those review scores differ based off of that?
I hate when review scores are impacted by difficulty.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the way that I look at review scores, because you see this a lot in music reviews and in book reviews, where people say the content of this is really like Mr. Bungle is a really great band, but it's so complex and different that it can turn people off because it's not what they're used to listening to.
Right.
So if you look at it from just will Joe average guy like it, it might be a little too difficult. It might be a little too heady to get into. So I kind of understand it, but at the same time I do disagree with it, because people don't look at it that way. They get this game got a 9 out of 10. It's real good.
Right. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, this game got a 7 out of 10, and people perceive that as a bad score.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 is not good, and that's weird.
I remember reading, or I was in high school at one point talking to a buddy, and a game got a 7 out of 10. He goes, "Oh, that sucks. That's terrible." And I was like, 7 out of 10 is very good. That's above average. He goes, "No, anything below a 5 is bad." And I was like, so 1 through 5 are inconsequential, and then 5 through 10 is where it becomes start to finish in terms of average. So 7 becomes an average score instead of 5 becoming an average score. And a lot of people think that way.
Yeah, I think that the gaming magazines kind of pushed that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember thinking the same thing. It's like if a game got below a 6, I was like, ugh, I don't want to. That's not good.
Whereas 6 technically is above average, so theoretically we should think that way. But somewhere along the lines, it was promoted that 5 or below is truly not worth pursuing, and anything above that is where the true measurement starts. So it's a very interesting approach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and so I was curious about that review as well, and I kind of wanted to touch up on that because that's an interesting sort of subject for reviewing. But of course, neither of us like scores because that's such a subjective number. The game's too hard, I give it a 7, but people who like hard games would give it a 10. So, that sort of difference is tricky. And I like reading. I think Dave Halverson would write these big articles in Play. I think actually they ended up using a grading system at the very end, A minus, A plus, stuff like that, which I'm a little more lenient with, but I still dislike because it still kind of promotes the if it's an A it's good, if it's a B it's all right, if it's a C, right? I guess which is very much like test scores. So maybe that's where we get the mentality from. If you score a 50 on a test, well, yeah, clearly you failed. But Dave Halverson would just go in depth, and at the end he wouldn't list bullet points of, here's the pros, here's the cons. He would just write paragraph after paragraph of, the game contains this, and this is why people who like this will like it. This game contains this, and if you don't like this, then stay away because it's really heavy on this content. Instead of, I had fun, so the game gets an A. Because it's it's too hard to generalize. And even then, even your favorite reviewers, people you truly trust, can have games that they love that you hate and vice versa. So it's really hard just to be so definitive.
Yeah.
But
I learned that there's a Crazy Chase 2. I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's for PlayStation.
That's weird. I didn't think I knew that either. Huh.
Kido Kuraun no Kureiji Cheisu.
He's popular over there. They made an impact. He was infiltrating the Eastern market. That's weird. Actually, I think I just found out today that there's an MSX version of Final Fantasy 1.
Really? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, because I was checking something. Apparently, it's the rarest version, but someone in this gaming soundtrack group posted an audio clip from it, and it's really good. Like, it just sounded super great. It just sounded actually way better than the Nintendo version. It almost sounded like VRC6, you know, music. It was really solid. Yeah, very thick. Totally worth listening to. So that was cool.
Yeah, it is for the play. It looks just like Crazy Chase too, just like in sort of 3D. It's called Kid Clown and Crazy Chase 2 Love Love Hani So Datsusen.
Wow. He did it.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. I love Crazy Chase.
It's fun. You know, I don't think I really got into it, but I remember playing it. I was like, you know, this is cool. The colorful graphics, and I liked isometric views all the time. So I was always into like seeing it in Nintendo Power or whatever, and thinking that I wanted to try it, especially because it was like an early Super Nintendo game.
Is there a Super Nintendo game that you think does not get nearly enough love?
Tin Star.
Okay. I actually have a hard time getting into Tin Star. It's too... like, it judges me so hard.
I don't even think it's like a phenomenal game, but it's one of those games that like... I think it was a really interesting, you know, good first-party attempt that just... nobody saw it and went, hey, Nintendo made this, let's do this, you know?
Right.
And it just sort of... It floated by, and that was it. I don't think it's like a phenomenal game, but I think it's kind of one that like when I show it to somebody, they're like, "I've never heard of this." Is usually the reaction.
So I saw an article right now of GameSpot's complete list of 10 out of 10 reviews and how those scores are decided, and it's being brought up because GameSpot gave Bayonetta 2 a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It is very impressive. I mean, this demo is tremendous.
So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is the 8th game that GameSpot has ever given a 10 out of 10 to.
You know what's crazy about that is Famitsu used to be the same.
Right.
It used to be like the one magazine. Like if they gave it a 10 out of 10, it was like this game has to be covered in gold because it's so good. And then somewhere along the lines, I think their grading scale got a little more lenient, and they just started handing them out. And I was like, that's weird because they used to be so stringent on this.
It would be like, this game is amazing, game of the year, 32 out of 40.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I don't know what happened along the lines where they just started like sort of handing out the gold medal to things.
So I'm going to go through this list, and you can tell me what you think about GameSpot's 10 out of 10s.
10 out of 10s, okay.
In chronological backwards order. So Bayonetta 2.
Sure.
And then we have Mario Galaxy 2.
I think that's a pretty solid choice. It's hard to... 10 out of 10? I love the game. I love the game. Damn. Okay.
And then before that, we have Metal Gear Solid 4.
Ooh. Going back and playing through it again, I'd probably still agree. So far, I'm actually in tune with this list.
And then Grand Theft Auto 4.
I liked 5 a lot more than 4, personally. I think 5 did way more stuff than 4 did proper. But I'm also not as good a judge as... the Grand Theft Auto game, since 5 is the only one I've ever beaten. So, okay.
And then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I played a lot. I think that's the one I played the most, but it's weird to give that game a 10 out of 10.
I like the Tony Hawk games, and I think they're fine at what they do. I'm just trying to think of like what happened, and this is also comes from an experience. What happened over 1 and 2 that made them go, dang? Like this is.
It's hard to say because they were still in that phase of sort of building on each game, and 3 I think is in this sweet spot where you can pull some really amazing combos without it being too crazy, without them having too many abilities.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun. The levels are really good. The soundtrack is good. 10 out of 10 is weird though. That is kind of strange because it's not even my favorite Tony Hawk game.
Yeah, it seems like a strange game to be like, dude, like if you're gonna play a Tony Hawk, this is clearly the one. Which I guess you should name, but a 10 out of 10 is like, that's like the when somebody plays Ocarina of Time for the first time, they're like, yeah, this.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you actually rate as a higher quality game than Tony Hawk 3?
In the Tony Hawk series?
Yes.
I honestly have to go with Tony Hawk Underground, Tony Hawk 5.
Okay.
Because in a weird turn of unexpectedness, it's got an excellent story. Like, you care about the story.
Is Bam Margera in that one?
He's in it, but he doesn't really play a prominent role.
Strange. So, what is story like about this game? Do you think it? Well, tell me.
The story to Tony Hawk Underground is very basic. You're this shitty like Philadelphia kid, and you want to make it big skateboarding, and this like OG Lords of Dogtown skaters in the city like looking to find some new talent. So you and your friend Eric Sparrow go shoot a tape and try and show it to him.
Like a demo tape.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, we got to find like the cool spot that no one's ever skated before, and we got to like do this cool trick that no one's ever done before. And so you get him the tape, and you get on like the amateur circuit, and you're doing events, and then you hit it big. You get a shoe deal and like just like other merchandise deals. And then what ends up happening is that, spoiler alert, I'll give you guys a couple seconds. Because honestly, Eric Sparrow is my most hated villain in all of video games.
Wow.
He is a total piece of shit kid. He steals your tape and passes it off as his own. So he gets like super big, and everyone's like, "Oh, that dude that you made, like he's just a fake. Like he wasn't actually that cool. It was all Eric Sparrow to begin with." And so you like wind up going back to Philadelphia, and you're all like, "Man, I'm so done with skating. Like I hate it. I just wanna. I'm over this shit." And like everyone's like, "No, man, I know it was you. Like that was your tape. Like you gotta go set it right." And so you go back and try and like get a match with Eric Sparrow and like prove that you're the better skater. It's actually really good.
That sounds surprisingly infinitely more intriguing than I ever thought a Tony Hawk game could be.
Yeah, and then Underground 2, they're like, "Oh, it's Tony versus Bam and crazy stunts," and they just totally ruined that whole motif.
Is there any connection between 1 and 2 at all other than it's Tony Hawk?
Not really.
Okay. Well, that's a shame, but kind of cool to see that they could like try something brand new and succeed.
Yeah, it was like it's one of those games that if you played it, especially back in the day, it really sticks with you. Tony Hawk's Underground is really good.
Impressive. Okay. Well, okay. So Tony Hawk's on the list.
Yep.
What comes before that?
Chrono Cross.
Dang. Okay. I would not expect that, because I know most people are like, "Hey, this isn't Chrono Trigger, I don't like it." Which, you know, understandably, it's tremendously different. So they really give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is the quote. With Square agonizing over every detail of its flagship property, the Chrono Cross team was apparently left mostly to themselves. Consequently, the game shares an all-out enthusiasm and joie de vivre found in the best 16-bit titles, back before games became multi-million-dollar properties that had to answer to glaring shareholders. Chrono Cross may not have had the largest budget, but it has the largest heart.
Wow. Okay. That makes me happy to hear.
And then before that is Soul Calibur for the Dreamcast.
Okay, I remember Famitsu actually did the same thing. They gave that game a perfect score, and I was like, "Dude, this must be."
And it really was like for
Yeah.
a Dreamcast launch title, you couldn't have asked for anything better. It was fun.
That's true.
It had great multiplayer, which was something that the Dreamcast kind of thrived on.
The motion capture for the fighters was beyond.
The graphics were just better than any other Dreamcast game out at that time. And then the quest mode was extremely satisfying from a single player perspective. It was a good game. And then the first game that GameSpot ever gave a 10 out of 10, you already mentioned, is Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Is even Nintendo Power didn't give Ocarina of Time a 10 out of 10. They gave it like a 9.6, which obviously is really close, but it was like, damn. Their whole review was like, yeah, like the Famitsu thing, this game is perfect, there's nothing better. If you find a better game, you're just not alive because that's a filthy lie. And this transcends all video games forever. You know, B-. So, I found that interesting that they didn't give it a perfect score either.
I imagine if you work for Nintendo Power, it's hard. You want to give every game a perfect score, but you really know that you can't do that, right?
That's true. That's true. But I remember thinking, like, the big risk with scores is when you give a game like Ocarina of Time. I think IGN gave it like, I don't even know if they gave it a perfect. I think they gave it a 9.8 if I'm not mistaken. But then they gave like Madden 02 like a 10 out of 10, which if you measure the things up, they're essentially saying that Madden 02 is better than Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had the two games right there, Madden is the better pick.
Right.
And so that score system really doesn't set right with me because I can't, I don't. It doesn't work like that to me. So, no review scores. No review scores.
Yeah.
Speaking of games that are going to ruin my life, besides Smash Brothers and Theatrhythm, Bayonetta 2 is going to show up. The new Ninja Turtles game.
Yes.
By Way Forward, the most flawless announcement of my life. I mean,
yeah.
I can think of something I want more than that, which would be Platinum, Ubisoft, like all the Super Dream Team 3D Turtles. But I can't complain hearing that Way Forward decided to make a new Ninja Turtles game based on the Nickelodeon cartoon, and it comes out in like a week for the 3DS, I think, and like 2 weeks for the 360 and PS3.
Man.
Oh man. And there was like a big interview today by Jeremy Parrish with some of the Way Forward guys, and he was just discussing the inspirations and the approach that they took with this, and the fact that there's a lot of stuff that like we don't want to pack the game with too much in terms of reference because it can't be too pandering. But every person on this team's like a Ninja Turtles fan, so it's kind of inevitable. Like, and the game just is not just phenomenal fan service, but is truly put together as the labor of ultimate love because Turtles games speak to the hearts of every gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap! I'm excited.
We've had to go through too many bad Turtles games.
Yeah, and I remember they said one of the biggest mission statement that they chose from the get-go was the moment that they got the go-ahead on this was saying, this will not be a brawler. We are not going down that road again because it's like we've discussed, it's too average, it's too done, and it doesn't allow enough for what the Turtle series should be.
There are very few brawling games, and I love the genre.
Sure.
But they're one of the more formulaic genres out there. There are very few brawlers that actually buck trends and do something different.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Though, when Way Forward nailed Double Dragon Neon, it's not to say they wouldn't have nailed a Turtles brawler, but I'm really glad they're choosing to go with more of an exploration-based world map route.
How do you feel about Way Forward doing an exclusive game for the Amazon Fire?
I don't know enough about it, to be totally honest. I think I'm interested, but I didn't really read into it too much.
I think it's like a point and click. But there's a lot of speculation that like Amazon's approach to game making or the game market is more encompassing than anyone has ever had because they have a platform, they have studios. They recently bought Double Helix or Iron Galaxy, one of the two.
I think it was Double Helix.
Double
Iron
Helix.
Galaxy is now in charge of the franchises. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought Double. So now they have a developer under their wings. They also retail sell games for every platform.
Mm-hmm.
They're really involved in every step of the process.
It's not a bad business approach. I will say that. I don't know. That's interesting. They've never made a point-and-click game, have they?
Way Forward? I don't
Yeah.
believe so.
I don't think they have, so I'm interested to see how that would work out. Okay. Well, I guess I need a tablet. I don't know, maybe...
Their
Is it based on
games
a-
developed.
Is it
Sorry,
based on
go-
anything? I don't remember.
I don't believe so. I think it's just a...
brand new IP?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was like based on like some popular series, could be into it. Guess it depends.
I don't see any point and clicks that I recognize, but I see a lot of games on this list that are not good, or don't sound good at least.
Sure.
So I'm kind of surprised to see some of these names. I didn't know they did Ping Pals.
Way Forward?
Yeah.
Weird. I don't think I did either. I can imagine it on the box now, but I don't think I paid attention to that at any point.
Ping pals.
Larry really wants onto my lap. Hey, buddy. Look, everybody. Here's Larry. Here to hang out this evening. Okay. So, we've got Turtles, we've got Smash for the Wii U with a sooner than expected date. I think a lot of people are sort of speculating, but it's nice to know that it's sooner than later and that it will hit before Black Friday.
So I was kind of resigned to just, because I don't have the 3DS one yet. I was kind of resigned to just sort of like, taking it easy and not getting Smash.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be getting a lot of money at the start of November.
Ooh.
So I may have to pick up a Smash Wii U.
Yeah, because at this point...
And get the bundle with the adapter and...
the whole package. I mean, it's going to be really solid what they're doing right now.
Now, does the adapter only work with one GameCube controller, or is it like a...
4.
Okay, so you just need the one and you can plug in 4?
Correct. One USB
port.
port.
Oh, man. Yep, that's happening.
So you're good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're set. No, I'm really, really happy with how that's going so far and the reception it's getting and like the stuff they're announcing and the fact that it's soon. We're super excited. We'll be hosting another tournament in a couple weeks when that happens. Oh, something actually really cool happened at the store today. So I was actually about to head out and go like grab like some lunch and go to the post office and run some errands. And I got this call and I was like, man, I gotta run to the post office. They're gonna close and I got stuff to do. It turns out it was this lady who's a school teacher here in town. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she called the store and she was like, hey, I teach at Grant Middle School, which is really close to our East Side location where I was working. And she says, we were thinking about trying to put together some sort of like video game event for the students. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds fun. And she seemed really enthusiastic about this. And the idea was that every Tuesday and Thursday, and she loves this kind of stuff, so I was like, all right, you see, already, she's excited because she's doing this and she's encouraging these kids, but every Tuesday and Thursday from like 3 to 4 after school, the kids get together and they hang out and they have sort of like a comic anime gaming sort of like get together, but they're middle school kids. And so one thing that she said is, can you guys come down and bring some setups and play some games and we could put something together and just have a fun game night. I was like, yeah, that sounds super great. We'll do whatever. We could do a classic game. We could do something a little bit newer. We can just put something together and have fun because I like working with kids a lot. Mm-hmm. And if these kids are already into it by default, then I'm thinking that it's going to go a lot smoother than just inviting a bunch of kids, half of whom are interested and half of them don't care. They're just sort of there and walking around not enjoying it. And one thing that she was telling me was that she actually wants me to come down there tomorrow and hang out with the kids for like an hour and just chill out and talk to them about what I do and the store and the fact that I took something that I love and I made a life out of it. It's, and she wants me to come down and really encourage them to say, it doesn't matter if some people don't like this. It doesn't matter if this is not what people have told you to do, but come on and, pursue what you're interested in and don't let anybody stop you. And so I'm going to go down there tomorrow and do this. And she was super excited, so that made me in turn really excited. And she said the kids are going to love it. And like, I don't know, it just sounds really fun, and I'm really excited to get the chance to go just chill with a bunch of kids and play video games. And
that's awesome, yeah.
And maybe we'll do like some cool promotions. I'll give them some stickers, or they can come get a T-shirt or like a gift card or something fun, because I want them to be into this. And I know that at my, if I was that age, if I was in middle school and this opportunity came up, like that's all I'd be able to talk about.
Yeah.
There was no opportunity like that on any level.
No, that sounds... I really appreciate, like, just that teacher's willingness to know that it's too easy to get shamed out of your interests, especially at that age.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, well, it's not cool, I don't want to do it anymore. Like,
right. My parents said it's stupid, or my, kids at school are making fun of me or whatever. And and because she was so enthusiastic about promoting the idea of do what you love to these kids, I was like, I can't say no to this. There's no way. This sounds absolutely phenomenal. So I'm gonna go meet with them tomorrow and see how that goes, and
that's awesome.
It'll be fun. Yeah, I'm super excited. That makes me happy that there are people out there who will do this kind of stuff. So we'll see. We'll update next week, and I'll let you know how everything goes. But
yeah,
I'm trying to think of all the crazy stuff that's been happening. Oh, the new 3DS launched in Japan.
Yeah, it did. That was today, I think, even.
Yeah, today or yesterday or something really recent. Under a name that they really should not use over here.
Yeah.
So apparently they're working with Dan Edelman, who was one of their localization managers, and he did their social media for a while. I think they're trying to work with him on what they feel would be a good name for the system, which would not be the new 3DS. So we'll find out ultimately what ends up happening with that. But it's off to a very good start right now. And the more I read about it, the more I look at it, the more I really, really want one.
I did hear one complaint. I was like, I'm ready to just get a new 3DS.
Sure.
But I had heard one complaint that kind of made me concerned is that the white balance seems to be off.
I had heard that from some people as well, too. And I'd also heard that for the current models of 3DS, and it seems inconsistent. Because some people have said that current models have it, and some people have reported mine doesn't. I double-checked mine, but I've also seen systems that do. So I'm wondering if it was just like a certain manufacturing issue that they could iron out by the time it gets launched here.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that is also kind of deterring, because that is kind of gross and weird.
Yeah.
But I also think that, like, in the middle of playing, I probably wouldn't think about it unless there was just two white screens juxtaposed next to each other, and I'd be like, oh, that one's yellow, and that's gross. But,
yeah,
I think I read the same thing as well, and that is always cause for a little bit of eyebrow raising. So, hope they can iron that out, because I think they haven't announced anything definitive to my knowledge. I think they might have said 2015 for us, or it might just be unannounced.
Hmm.
In which case I would still love a holiday release, but I don't know if that's going to happen. It looks sharp, though. I've been reading about the head tracking for the 3D, and that makes me happy because I think it'll make a lot less people, weary of the 3D. Because I don't blame you if you shift your head slightly, and the 3D goes away. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
That takes away the whole thing, and then you have to concentrate on holding the system at a certain angle, kind of like an infrared controller, rather than enjoying what you're doing.
Mm.
I've also read that a lot of the not motion blur, but just screen blur has been alleviated.
Yeah.
And that sounds nice. I think that'll be good.
I like the fact that it's got more horsepower and that actually relates back to older games. I've heard that loading time is cut down
substantially. Somebody did a comparison with Monster Hunter 4.
Yeah.
And the original 3DS model he showed was 43 seconds versus the new 3DS, which was 13 seconds. And I was like, dang, okay, so that's super huge.
Yeah.
Because even Smash Brothers actually takes a little bit to load up, and I'm sure it'd be much more enjoyable with this newer model. So that's good. That makes me happy to hear. But I know a lot of people had also voiced a lot of concern over, now they're going to release this new handheld which has exclusive games for it. Way to go, Nintendo. And then the only thing I could say was the Game Boy Color is one of the most popular systems that we sell, and that's exactly what they did before.
Yep.
So, not to say I encourage it, but I think it'll be fine. So.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're also going to make dual games that function normally on 3DS, but then are optimized on the new 3DS.
I think that could probably it'd be like the expansion pack. It's
essentially, yeah.
Oh man, all that stuff about Factor 5 that came out this week.
Dude, new Star Wars games that just didn't
Heartbreaking.
exist. I know. That's so upsetting because they were so good at that.
Online Rogue Squadron.
Dude, I know. Because they had nailed it, man. To think that like the best Star Wars games I'd ever played were like that generation. Like they were phenomenal. So good. Yeah, that's depressing. And then they went to make Lair, and everybody was like, oh. So, never helps.
I was reading about working designs yesterday, and how Victor Island does not come out of that situation looking like a good person or businessman. Have you heard the story of work?
Well, I don't know if I know specifically what story you're referring to. I just know I love Vic Ireland, and that he tries very hard, and he does a lot of things. He's made a lot of strides.
Yeah, he was very like, this is what my company does, and this is what we're going to do, and we will not move off this point. And the way he tells it, he got kind of jerked around by Sega and Sony. But the thing that made me be like, wow, this guy is really petty was, they were talking about the early days of the company and how he'd gone to Sony and been like, we want to port Arc the Lad for you. and they were like, no, RPGs. Bernie Stoller told him, no, RPGs are not the future, and your company's barely sold anything on the Turbo CD or the Sega CD. Like, this just isn't a good business move.
Sure.
And so he decided he hated Bernie Stoller. So that's why Working Designs made a bunch of Sega games on the Saturn, but not on the Dreamcast. Because when the Dreamcast came out, Sega poached Stoller from Sony, and then Working Designs was like, we make Sony games now. We have nothing to do with Sega.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty childish. That's pretty childish. It's funny though, because like the industry seems to be a little friendlier now as a whole. Like, they actually let the consumers do the bickering.
Yeah,
and they're on pretty good terms with each other. But like, it was cutthroat back in that era. So that's really, I did not know that. Damn, talk about a vendetta. We only make
one guy
for Trip Hawkins now because he's not Bernie Stoller. Weird.
And I love Working Designs. Like, their games were great. The localization was fantastic. The books and art and everything they threw in was just icing on the cake. But man,
no, I had no idea that Vic Island was like that, because everything I knew about him, he was like, dude, video games, and we're not just gonna like make a video game. We're making an experience, a package. And I guess even his kid is involved with a lot of stuff. And he was responsible for bringing over Blaster Master Overdrive on the Wii and getting that done. So he did a lot. But that's really funny still. What a D. What a D. So what else we got going on? To my knowledge, and I might be just totally wrong here, or not paying attention, or some sort of weird bias, I don't know if there's been a PSP game or a Vita game that's come out in like 4 months. Because I can't think of a single thing that I've heard about that I've been like, cool.
I was thinking about it a couple days ago because I saw an auction for it was just like PS Vita game, and I was like, what game is that? And I was like, would I recognize it if I knew what it was?
Right. Yeah, and I was over at GameStop the other day to pick up Evil Within. I was just walking around and looking at stuff, and I was like, I think I've seen every one of these games on the shelf since like June, and I don't know if that's good. So
I had a friend message me a couple days ago in the morning, and he was like, what do you tell a person who's about to buy a PS Vita? And I was like, you tell them to enjoy their portable PS1, because
yeah, it's good for PS1 and PSP downloadable games. Like, it's great for that. They look phenomenal. They play well. For Vita games, you're SOL. You're Sons of Liberty.
Yep.
Yeah, it's depressing. Because, like, I was talking to somebody the other day, I think just at the store, and they were like, is a Vita worth getting? And I was like, it depends on what you're going for. And if you want classic downloadable titles, yeah, it's fantastic. They look better than you could ask for. And, having that portability and convenience is absolutely terrific. But as far as Vita games themselves go, like, the future is bleak. And I know Sony at E3 said, we're not focusing on making Vita games at all. I'm sure they're going to. Well, I actually don't even know at this point. But they really said third parties will continue to do this. And since then, I don't know that I've really seen or heard much on the horizon.
Yeah.
So that's really depressing. I guess like there's the new Ease game that came out. But even that might have been like a couple months back. I don't know. I haven't been to any news site that's been like, dude, like you have to play this.
Yeah, this is the killer app the Vita has been waiting for.
Yeah, I think Tearaway was the last big game that I was like, all right, that looks really good. And then I think they just announced it for like the PS4 instead, and I was like, well, that's probably an easier bet. So we'll just wait for that. So I don't know. And then the Vita TV just showed up.
I like that. I think that's a great idea.
I agree. Actually, I think that's almost a better bet than, Sony just kill your handheld and do the Vita TV and you're good.
Yep.
Like, it seems more practical. But we'll see. Since the Cyber Zone, I mean, tons of stuff has happened. It's been like 4 or 5 months. It's been a very, very long time. So we apologize to anybody who's been wanting to watch this and had to just listen to reruns or whatever. But
I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what people do. That's the only YouTube channel people care about, I think.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I've heard about this new one called like PewDiePie. But
is he funny? I hope he's funny because I really like funny guys.
I don't know if he's funny.
Play video games.
Yeah.
I hope he is because, he's.
That's the only way to. What other kind of video game content is there?
That's true. Yeah. If you're not screaming into the microphone as loud as you can all the time, no matter what you're playing, then I don't think I want to watch your YouTube playthrough. So, God bless his soul.
We miss you.
I think they say that in like the South when somebody's dumb, like, you know, bless his heart.
Yeah, bless his heart, he's trying.
And I don't know anything about the guy. You know, I've watched a couple of his videos, and they're just not my cup of tea. But good for him. If he's got a good following, people like it. Right on. Angry Video Game Nerd just pulled out Beetlejuice the other day.
That sounds like two things I hate.
Yeah, that's true. I'm unfortunately not a huge fan of him. I like that he's got a following. Again, it's good that, you know, even if it's not to my taste, that people enjoy it.
Yeah.
But Beetlejuice, it's not a good game.
I've been listening to a lot of, like, I've been hunting down these videos that are like the 50 best songs on the NES and like the 70 best songs on the NES and like just different consoles and stuff like that. And one of them had a Beetlejuice song in it, and I was like, what? Huh?
To be fair, I've only heard like maybe 2 songs in the game because I usually turn it off before I can get anywhere. But they could be the only 2 songs in the game because that happened sometimes too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was it like actually a good song, or was it just sort of like?
It was okay, but I honestly couldn't get past the fact that it was from Beetlejuice.
I bet if you asked Nico, he would like it a lot.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But he also appreciates things, I think, on a different like level than we do. Like he transcends like video game music.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
He messaged me recently and said that we should A, start doing Cyberzone again, and B, we should have him back on the show.
Sure.
Oh, he was watching my stream one night. That's right.
Oh, with like the AM cast, or no, he was watching your
my
Twitch.
Twitch page. Yeah.
Gotcha. I got to start doing Twitch more often as well too. Just dedicate a night, get some donate, stuff going on, and just so I can do cool things, play a cool game.
Yeah.
And I'll play anything as well too, because I like playing games, good or bad. And if it's for people's enjoyment, then right on.
Bad dudes.
I would play the batted dudes.
Badminton dudes.
The badminton. Play badminton 64. I would play Shogi 64 if I had it. I remember when I first imported my 64, I was so desperate for games because I think I had Mario 64 and Wave Race. I almost bought Shogi, but then I was like, judgment is a better part of valor. I actually looked at it and said, I am not actually going to enjoy this. Let's not get it simply because I want something new.
Right.
So.
Didn't it have online mode, though, or am I thinking of a different Shogi game?
It could have, but that would have been with the 64DD using RandNet. Because the 64... I'm pretty sure that one did not. There might have been like one that came out later with like a cartridge-like data thing built into it. But I think that actually was just the 64.
I'm either thinking of that, or I'm thinking of like GoNet on the Genesis.
Maybe.
Saikyo Habu Shogi.
Oh, good. Almost did it.
One of 3 launch games along. Yeah, why is that a launch game? The game's special guest is the shogi player Yoshiharu Habu, who won all 7 major shogi championships the year of the game's release. The game was a commercial failure, selling only about 1 copy with every 100 consoles at launch.
Ooh, it's a bad ratio.
And then it had a shogi sequel.
Shogi sequel.
That one, the sequel had a phone jack plug on the top of the cartridge.
Okay.
And you could do it that way.
You should play online with your buddies. That's a different country, man. We
Yeah.
don't do that. We don't do that mess here. What if there was Backgammon 64 online? Like, how well do you think that would do?
Honestly, I think if just in the era it was in, if Monopoly 64, which is a real game, had online play, had a modem port on the top of the cart,
I probably would have bought that. Simply on principle. I'm sure I would have.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sad that I didn't.
They didn't do it.
I know. I'm sad I didn't give them cause to make that game. I didn't play enough Monopoly as a consumer. Another thing I wanted to talk about tonight on Cyberzone was diseases in Secret of Mana.
Okay.
And I was thinking, did you played Secret of Mana?
Yes.
Did you play it pretty extensively?
Yes and no. I've played through it a few times, but I really remember so little about the game. Like, the first part of the game is burned in my memory.
Sure.
And then I'm like, and there's like this Dialect guy and an Emperor, and then you get a Flammy, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah, I don't remember like the details at the end. I remember getting launched out of a cannon.
Yeah.
I remember Rabbites.
Yes.
I remember Chobin.
Yes, Chobin Hood.
Chobin Hood. I feel that because I was thinking about diseases today, because we were talking about Ebola at the store, and I was like, I bet certain video game enemies have diseases that you wouldn't think would. And I was thinking Rabbites, and I thought, you know, they're kind of fluffy, they're pink, or they're yellow, and they just sort of like walk around and eat grass and bite people. But Chobins, I believe, are really dirty. Like, I think that they like eat things out of the trash, or they just eat like other dead Chobins that they find around. And like they don't, there's no discretion. Because they can't break down bacteria the same way that a human would.
Yeah, they don't have complex lactic acids.
Exactly. Yeah. So if they're to eat another Chobin, like, you know, it should work on some levels, but it's not the same principle as, like, you know, hunting on the Serengeti, where you could, like, lions could eat another dead lion and be fine. Chobins, if they eat each other, like, they will contract. So they could eat anything and contract something. They could eat like a raw what are the stupid mushroom things that piss me off all the time? I can't remember. They just explode spores everywhere. And
oh yeah, what are those things called? Mad shrooms, or
maybe something like that. Or they eat like Neko, or they eat those crazy wolves in like the Santa village where you have to rescue Santa.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, they eat things. They just eat whatever. Like, they eat like a sandwich, but the sandwich has enzymes that, like, to anything else, like, nothing happens because it's just bread and ham. But Chobins can't digest them properly, and they end up getting sick, and then just, like, coughing on each other and getting more sick.
Mushboom.
Mushboom. Okay. Okay. That game had great music.
Yeah, which is a shame because it has, like, no audio channels for some reason.
Yeah.
So, if you're doing anything, you can't hear the music.
That's true. That's true. The character would use all the channels, which is respectable to be like, hey, you know, your character makes infinity noises, but
I've thought about this from a design standpoint, like, because I'm still slowly working on making Nintendo games, and I would want to have the option to turn off sound effects at the title screen, just to leave the channels open for the music if the music is really good.
Oh yeah, because there's a cinematic, like a Mega Man, there's explosions in the background while the music's playing, or whatever, and you can't hear the actual song.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like, that's why I'll never use the Mega Buster in 4 through 6, is because I can't hear the music.
You can't hear anything. Yeah, it sounds awful. That's fair. Would you opt to have this sound effectless option through the whole game?
Yeah.
If someone wanted to, that's cool. That's really cool.
Like, maybe you just, like, say, if you pause the game and hit, like, select and B, then the sound effects turn off. And you can just... Or you can do it at the title screen and just not have sound during the game.
Just enjoy it, or pause the game and there's an option straight right there.
It's like when you're playing Gradius or Life Force on the Nintendo, and the game starts, and your ship is blinking, you're invincible, and you can hear the music, and you're like, man, this music is good. And then the laser sound effects start. Like, even if you've already been shooting, there's a delay before your guns make a noise.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they start making noise, those are like 2 audio channels dropped right there. Just because
it's done. Yeah. Yeah. That is depressing. Video game music is so important, and it sucks that it kills it like that. And I want to say, I think Mega Man 9 and 10 actually did that just because they could. You know, they wanted to keep the authenticity.
Yeah.
Which is neat and a shame. But Shovel Knight, if I'm not mistaken, actually forgoes that rule despite going for authenticity, so it ultimately sounds better.
And Shovel Knight's got really good music.
It's phenomenal. Oh, check this out real quick. Okay, so I got something in the mail the other day, which was one of my Kickstarter rewards. And that is an NES box for Shovel Knight.
Ooh.
Like, you know, complete with, like, rad pictures and descriptions and stuff on the back, ESRB thing. They actually had a QR code, I didn't even realize that was there, that I need to scan in to check that out. But what's cool, and I'm scared to open it because I don't want to, like, bend, I don't want to crease the the box, as NES games tend to do.
Yeah.
It comes with a cool little instruction manual, and there's actually glitter all over it because there's like also a letter inside that has glitter. So, thank you for supporting us. Little instruction manual with a bunch of illustrations, character pictures, Shovel Knight descriptions. There's like all the bosses of the Order of No Quarter. There's also like a little how to play thing where it's, here's buttons A and B, which actually doesn't correspond to the in-game controls, which is funny because it's Y and B. Let's see. So it comes with a little instruction manual. There's a cat that made its way onto me. There's this little Yacht Club Games super cool little Shovel Knight thing right here. And it comes with, there's actually, cat's knocking this off. The glitter is all over this envelope. And it comes, now the glitter's all over my cat. And it comes with authentic Shovel Knight dirt, which actually looks like a crushed red pepper inside this package. But it's like, it's like sparkly things. And then like a nice little letter that was like, hey, this is card 24 of however many, which I actually don't even know. And the glitter's getting everywhere again. It's still all over the cat, who's just pacing back and forth on my lap because she's excited that I'm here. She's headbutting my hand. Okay. We also have... It's kind of stuck in there. Oh, come on. Soundtrack CD.
Ooh.
2 discs. Like 8 million tracks. It's very impressive. Yeah, because it has certain songs by Minami Matsumae, who did the music for Mega Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 48 tracks. Very impressive. Very impressive little collection. But this just came in the mail, and that's like a really cool little treat for fans. So I was really excited about that. Just because now I have one more box for my NES shelf.
Yeah.
Even though it's not an NES game, it might as well be. And they put so much love into this Kickstarter that was a very nice gesture, I thought.
Absolutely.
Also, look at this cat.
I see it. It has a weird looking lip. I don't like its lips.
This is Pee-Pee. She looks like she's like eating crack. She has crack lips.
Yeah.
She's my girl. So, anyway. Oh, Jesus, her claws. Well, alright. So, pretty good year so far. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. I wanted to try Shadows of Mordor, because I forgot that was even a thing.
I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about it.
It just, it's supposed to be really cool, and I hope to rent it or somebody trades one in or something at some point. But we'll see. Get off me! Ow! If I lean down to try to prompt her off, her claws just dig in. Well, whatever. I guess this is
your life now.
The new thing. All right, and I can't swat her off because she's too cute. Ah, this hurts. Whatever. So what's coming out sometime soon that you're looking forward to?
That's hard. I do really still want to play D4, which is a recent release.
D4, like the sequel to D?
No, actually, it has nothing to do with that or the Mighty Ducks.
Oh.
And the Wikipedia article actually says this has nothing to do with the Mighty Ducks series or the D video game series. It's Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Okay.
It's a new game by the Deadly Premonition team.
Oh, didn't that like just come out?
Yeah, like last month, I think.
That's right. Okay, that was a really because I think they announced like a week before it showed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds neat.
But it's apparently like a game that's worth playing on the Kinect, which I think is exciting.
That sounds good. I need a reason to pull up the Kinect again. Speaking of Deadly Premonition, this isn't exactly video game related.
I can make it video game related.
Do it.
I learned this week that High Tech Expressions had the rights to make a Twin Peaks NES game.
What happened?
It was in one of the. It was reported in an issue of Nintendo Power.
Was there even a picture?
No.
That's probably good. What would it have been like?
In my mind, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh no. I was thinking hopefully Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom or like Shadowgate or something. But if Dale Cooper could just like bounce on his leg and then just punch Audrey Horne in the face and send her flying, That's all I want. Well, it's probably a good thing that didn't happen, because like that would cheapen the experience tremendously.
Yeah, it was supposed to be based on the season 2 story, I think.
Ooh, that would have been extra weird.
Yeah.
I would have liked it, because I actually like season 2. The more I watch it, the more I like season 2. But I don't think that would have translated at all. Dang. Okay. Well, so high-tech expressions.
Yeah.
It doesn't get worse than that.
It could have been like LJN.
That's true. That's about as bad as. Oh dang, yeah. Well, that sucks.
TNC Peaks Designs.
Oh, and Dale Cooper just surfs
Yeah.
and falls into the ocean.
He has to talk to Diane, and Diane tells him where to surf.
They should have made Laura Palmer's pro surfing, and you can either play as Laura Palmer or Leland Palmer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. But it plays exactly like TNC. I guess I have to start doing ROM hacks at this point, because now I'm not satisfied. I need to know more. LGN is bad, man.
Yeah, and when you look at who is actually like writing their games, it's mind-boggling. Because a lot of their games were Atlas. A lot of their games were Rare.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What happened?
Maybe they're just like, hey, we got this license. Here's $1,000. Make a game.
Rough beginnings, man. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking about something. LGN or writing their games. Dang it, I don't know. I'll see if I can think of it. I think I was just thinking about crappy developers and making crappy decisions, doing crappy things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll think of it.
You will.
I'll think of it someday. But I don't know. The licensing thing. No, we've had this discussion about licensing. I can't remember what I was thinking about. I'd like to remember, but it's not going to happen. So
well,
I'll
one
see
day.
if something prompts it. Very good, very good. Well, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I mean we could also probably spend the next month talking about the Gamergate thing if we wanted to open up that can of worms. But I personally don't feel there's enough press out there with this whole situation.
Yeah.
Regarding all of it, but the only thing I will say about it, this is just a personal stance on my general thoughts towards anything, is be a decent human being, and despite the fact that other people make mistakes or have done things that are less than savory, treat them like human beings as well.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever is going on, because everybody makes mistakes and everybody has a hard time, and you wouldn't want anybody, mulling over something you've done that you wish you hadn't. And if it's too late to change that, then the last thing you should be doing is making somebody feel really shitty for it,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just sort of my general stance on how to treat people in situations in general, is just encourage people's growth, don't stunt it.
Right.
So it's a mess, but it's something far beyond what I want to get into at this point. We'll let people decide for themselves, where they want to stand, what they want to do. Let's see. Arkham Knight was delayed to next year, because I thought they had said like October of this year, and I even thought that was strictly tentative, because I was like, that's really soon. I'm not sure I believe that. So I don't think I was super alarmed or actually upset that it was delayed a good chunk to ideally finish it or just make it better, whatever is going on. Also, I realized that number one is I have a friend in San Francisco who now is like a senior game designer at Ubisoft.
Ooh.
Which I'm tremendously proud of. I also realized that when I was over at GameStop picking up Evil Within, my friend was like, hey, did you want to check out the new Assassin's Creed? I don't care anymore. I am 100% over that series, and it's been so pushed down my throat for 6 years that I truly have never cared less.
And you liked 4 a lot, right?
I actually had a good time with it. I never finished it, but when I was playing it, I was like, I'm having a really good time. It looks great. I'm sailing around. I'm shooting things. The air or the naval battles are super cool. You know, like this is a really big step in the right direction. And then once I stopped playing it, I realized I don't ever care about picking this game back up ever again. Ever. No interest in ever trying it again.
It's a shame because they're well-made games, but I completely agree.
It's too much. It is saturation. It became to me what Guitar Hero was. It became what Call of Duty became. It became what Tony Hawk became. And they were saying, this is our cash cow, and I understand that you want to capitalize on that. And from a business standpoint, they will still make money. They will still do good, and they're not going to have to worry about sales because the games will still sell well. But the diminish has begun, and I mean they've already announced 3 more Assassin's Creed titles, and they're just going to keep showing up year after year after year, and finally people are going to say, I'm also done. You know, it has happened. There's a pattern for all of this, and you know, time and time again it's proven. The Mario parties were coming out so consistently that people just said, whatever. You know, I don't have to buy a Mario Party this year because in another year there'll be a new one.
Yep.
I don't need to do this. Tony Hawk's Guitar Heroes. Activision's really good at that, by the way, is picking a franchise and smashing it. I hope Ubisoft can branch out because they're a tremendously talented studio. All of their different divisions, and I would love to see them do something new because that, as their new IP, was very exciting. And now I just feel bad that I'm done.
It's weird how certain games just hit that status where... I mean, look at the games that do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk. Their genre distilled down to its purest.
Yes.
Like, there's not really anything special about them.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they say, like, this is a stealth game. And every time they add a feature, and they say, well, now you can buy buildings. Now you can
right.
You can have a boat.
Right.
And it's just going to keep... Like, it's not enough.
It's almost like a Madden kind of thing.
It really is.
Where this year you can push your guy with a juke button, or this year you can sell hot dogs, or whatever like the minuscule edition is. And, you know, it sucks because I do think that the new one, I think Unity... looks phenomenal. Graphic-wise, holy smokes. You know, if what they're showing is like the real deal, then dang, that's really impressive. 4-player co-op, that's a great selling point. But it's too late for me. And I wonder how many other people have gotten to that point. You know, I have no doubt it'll still do well for a bit, but how many people have just stopped caring?
It's weird to think because I feel like those kinds of games are for people who think video games are fun, but don't know how to look or don't care to look at what else is out there.
That's fair. Like, they've heard, you know, that these are the good ones. If you're going to pick up an Xbox 360, here are the staples. Grab those and you'll be fine.
I was at Walmart today and I was surprised to see a standout for the new Call of Duty Ghost or Advanced Warfare Xbox 360 bundle.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a 500 gigabyte Xbox 360 with Advanced Warfare, and they're like pushing it. They're like saying, "Here's the new Xbox 360 bundle."
Interesting. Is that like a Walmart exclusive, or are they doing that just sort of in general?
I feel like it might be Walmart exclusive because it's a blue Xbox.
That's kind of cool, but I mean, it's still weird because, hey, here's our new system, but don't worry, buy the old system.
Only at Walmart.
Only at Walmart. Huh. Okay. Interesting. So how do you think this is going to review, or this is going to sell? Because I think, what was the newest one that just came out? Ghosts?
Yeah.
I think critics were like, hey, the game's fine, but you can definitely tell that there's a deterioration in terms of quality. But it has a dog.
Having played a lot of Call of Duty and having a roommate who's very... He used to be serious about the franchise, and he's hit his saturation point also. It's very studio dependent. A lot of there are people who are just like Call of Duty bro, and they'll play whatever it's called. They'll play the newest one, and that's the best one. There are people who are a bit more like... I never enjoyed any of the Treyarch developed ones. Call of Duty 3, World at War, Black Ops, Ghosts.
But
They feel too plasticky to me.
sure.
So this one having Infinity, I think Infinity Ward's working on it, as well as the new Sledgehammer acquisition,
Right.
and just the overall look and feel of the game and Kevin Spacey's dialogue.
Right.
It's kind of exciting. I'm not going to be picking it up early, but if I hear good things, if it looks good, if the multiplayer's good, there's a chance.
If they make a proper step in a new direction, because it's good to take a franchise that people are familiar with and say, the game's not going to be the same, but we want to give you the same quality of product that you're waiting for, but with a new step. Kind of like when Square Studios said, we don't want to remake Final Fantasy VII, we want to make a new Final Fantasy that makes you feel as good as Final Fantasy VII did.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a really good approach to designing a game. Is saying, what is it that made, you know, what feeling did we instigate? But I also know that that's really rough because, you know, sometimes you just hit the magic formula. Sometimes the stars align and the game just comes out and you're just like, dang, how did this happen? And then sometimes you just miss.
You can make a Final Fantasy game that's going to make people feel the way Final Fantasy VII made you feel, but you will never make someone feel the way they felt when they played Final Fantasy VII.
That's true.
Like you can give a new generation of gamers that feeling.
Yeah.
But us cadre nostalgic bastards are going to be like, it's not the same.
I know, we're done at this point. But yeah, I mean, if you make something that's the first great RPG in somebody's life, because 7 as a turning point, obviously monumental for people. It's exciting for people like us who have actually seen, because I mean 7, I was waiting for 7 to make me feel like 6 did.
Right.
You know,
and I think that's a very divisive, because there are those people who 6 was like the last one before Final Fantasy made it big. Like it was a franchise, but RPGs still weren't a thing.
Yeah.
And so if you played 6 and you loved it and you're like, oh my god, this is it. And what makes it more criminal, I've thought about this a lot, is that 7 is basically 6. It's got fewer characters, but the thematic elements are similar, and a lot of the music is similar. Like it feels like they're like, hey, we've got this new PlayStation. We can make all these graphics and all these cool things. Let's hurry up and get this done. So I understand like the division between people who like 6 and people who like 7. And how it's easy for people who like 6 to feel slighted because their game is kind of superior and it was first and it was more innovative, I think. But
yeah, there were a lot of things about 7 that I was expecting to like one up on every level, and obviously graphic wise you had some new horsepower and there's some new tricks you could pull, but I remember thinking oftentimes that the quality of music in 7 was actually not as good as what my Super Nintendo had done like 4 years prior. And that I remember feeling kind of like jaded about. A big problem is I also bought the soundtrack early, and I had picked up the 6 soundtrack and listened to that thing 8,000 times. But then when I bought the 7 soundtrack, I was like, I'm going to put this in, and my ears are going to melt because I'm like, I won't even be able to handle the quality of the next one. And I remember sitting down, and without context of game to like associate with the music, it was just music to me. And so as I was listening to it, I was just like, I don't know. It's fine, but like nothing is instigating emotion. So I think I sort of sabotaged myself in terms of the soundtrack, because I was waiting for like that one big song to come along and just be like, dude, you thought Dancing Mad was good? Well, check this out.
yeah.
And you know, 7 had its share of actually really good songs, but nothing on that soundtrack cat here made me feel anywhere near the way I did. None of them were the earworms to me that 6 were. You know, One Winged Angel's a cool song. The battle music, you know, Fight and Fight On or whatever, those great music. But none of them grabbed me, and I think I sort of ruined that for myself. My expectations, though, were absolutely through the roof for this game, and so when I finally finished it, I was just like, no. You know, this is not what I wanted as a successor. Because from 1 to 2 for me was huge. From 2 to 4 was huge. And so logically, you know, when Squaresoft was arguably on top of the world at that point, you know, the world is square. Right? that's it. I shattered myself. That was, and I don't blame the game at all. That was all me. But I broke myself for that.
Yeah.
And subsequently, I ended up loving 8 way more than 7 because my expectations had been killed for 7. So I was like, whatever, the series is done. And then when I played 8, I was like, oh, never mind, this is way better than anything. So that's what happened to me.
We have a couple comments from Shane Kelly.
Oh, yes.
He says, Assassin's Creed needs a major reworking of the combat system, and they need to take more risks.
Mm-hmm.
I can agree with both of those things. The combat system, although, they're always going to say, like, oh, it's not about combat, but then they always force you into combat.
Yeah, you have to do it, and it's always very... It's fine, but it does nothing to make it exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's functional.
If they took more risks, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those...
Yeah, that game plays it very safe. Very, very, very safe. Sit on a bench or climb a building or, like, stab a dude, and, like, that's cool, but, man, like... One thing did you play any of the Assassin's Creeds? Like, really sit down and play them?
The only one that I really sat down and played for any length of time was the first one, which a lot of people say is, like, not indicative of the quality of the rest of the series.
I even liked the first one, but I think they really improved it with 2. And then 3, they wanted Ubisoft to capitalize on because the game's main story takes place in, like, 2013 or whatever. 2012, 2013, I don't know. I think maybe it was 2012. Whatever the case. It was 2012 at the time, and the story prompts you to work on existing in the present as well as, going back to the Animus and being in the past. So there's actually a lot of missions that take place in the present, and I was like, dude, if I'm going to run around like a New York or whatever as my assassin guy climbing buildings and there's cops chasing me and like flashing lights, this is going to be great. And they just didn't do that at all. Like, they really could have done some amazing stuff to change it up, as in, like, you're training for this. Everything you've been doing has been building up to this moment. And they had, like, a couple missions where you're like, oh, I'm sneaking through a hedge maze outside of, like, some dinner soiree. And, like, it wasn't cool at all. The best thing was I got to climb, like, a skyscraper that was halfway through being built, and so you're climbing I-beams and girders and stuff. And I was like, this is neat. And once you get to the top, like, story happens, and you're like, oh, I'm not, like... This isn't like a free-roaming city. I can run across all of Italy, but I can't, check out more than a single building in this sprawling New York landscape.
Yeah.
And that made me upset. But yeah, hopefully Unity does some new stuff, but it still seems to be playing it fairly safe. I'm sure in terms of presentation they want to keep it still pretty similar, so maybe the gameplay will have a big revamp, but other than some new animations, I'm not counting on it. Which is a shame. Then he also makes a statement to you.
I see that.
I disagree. Treyarch is the only studio that actually put some innovation into Call of Duty. I'm not qualified to talk about this at all, so that's all you.
That's a very fair point, because they do new things with their games. They always introduce new concepts, new mechanics, and the Infinity Ward series tends to play it very, very close to its like Assassin's Creed. They take no risks. They make more shit blow up each game, and more main characters die each game, and it's a question of taste. I just prefer the feel of those games more. I feel like the Treyarch ones, in terms of playing them online with multiplayer and things like that, the hitboxes and the shot detection is just a little wonky. But that's me.
Okay.
Obviously, people like I think Black Ops 2 was the one, like, competitively speaking, those are the ones that get played in like that. So take from that what you will. People enjoy them. They always sell big.
That's true. And I guess as long as you're making money, you're gonna do what makes money.
Yep.
If I could walk downtown and be like, hey, I've got poop in my hand and it's $40 a pop, and people are like, give it to me. I'd be like, all right, if it's selling, I will do this. It might be disgusting, it might not be sanitary, it might be despicable, but if I'm making money doing this, why would I not do this?
Right.
So from a business standpoint, I mean, you do have to look and say, if it's making money, why would we stop? And it sucks because it does shy developers away from trying new stuff, because risks are big. Even Capcom just issued a statement recently saying, if our game does not sell 2 million plus copies, it's hard for us to consider making a sequel.
Yeah.
And with the cost of games rising so heavily nowadays, it sucks that a million seller can't necessarily justify the kind of margins. Michael, did you freeze? Okay, you froze for a quick second.
Yeah, you did too.
Okay, weird. I'm back.
Hi.
Hello. So, I don't know if anybody heard the last part of that, but you know what Capcom said. How much of that did you hear, actually?
2 million copies to be profitable. It's a shame that a million seller isn't enough.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird to me because I think they're, I don't know if it's a sequel, but it seems like the people who made Remember Me are making a game very similar to Remember Me, and that game did not sell well at all.
I wonder what the budget for that was. Because I'm sure like that gets taken into account as well too, and it seems like that got put onto like the Games for Gold or PlayStation Plus freebie like pretty quickly, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. Maybe they made a pretty good deal with them that helped them out sales wise. I have no clue. No clue what happened with that. The new Dragon's Dogma will be the Phantasy Star Online successor, I suppose, that we've been waiting for. So I remember showing you the first one.
Yeah.
And like I was really into that game, but without the multiplayer that it could have had. You know, you're just like, I'm going to import my friend's data. Like, you know, I think River City Ransom on the Game Boy Advance could do that. They're like, people don't want multiplayer. People just want a computer that plays like their friend. I think that's a big misstep for a game like that, especially when they're trying to prioritize internet play in this day and age. So, if that game was with friends, I would be playing the poop out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one takeaway I certainly like. I've told a lot of people to get Dragon's Dogma after checking it out with you, and but it's hard. It's like, you know, you're gonna play this game and you're gonna love it, and you're gonna wonder where the hell is the multiplayer.
Yeah. Oh, I see my buddy online. I can just borrow his pawn, and I can level his pawn up, and then his pawn will return to him with like a bag of arrows or whatever. I don't know. It seemed like a strange, and maybe just like the netcode wasn't ready, or like it wasn't what they needed it to be to function as well as they wanted. Which, you know, that's fine. I just don't remember seeing like a statement ever issued, you know, for something like that. And I think, you know, even though it might get backlash sometimes, I always like when developers can just say, "Hey, this feature was too hard for us to get going," you know.
Yeah.
I was talking at E3. I was talking to one of the guys who was I think he's like the lead programmer for Dead Rising 3, and he just said, "We straight up didn't have the resources or programming ability to put local multiplayer into Dead Rising 3, no matter how bad we wanted it, because with everything that's going on, everything that's being rendered, like it was just too much. It was too much for us, and we didn't want to sacrifice the gameplay experience." Though I also wonder about the tolerance level of people when it comes to what you will allow to happen in a multiplayer setting being local, because I know some people are more accommodating, or do you think standards are too high? For instance, Hyrule Warriors I was playing through in single player. It's great. It does get some slowdown when you have, you know, like 80, 90 things on screen at once, because it's just a ton of stuff. But I was playing with Juanita. She plays on the gamepad. I play on the TV. And notably, textures are lowered. The frame rate lowers a little bit. I think it's still around like 25 to 30. So, like, I mean, it's kind of to be expected with everything that's going on. But it doesn't bother me at all, because I expect that with everything that's happening. Like, I look at this experience and saying, this system is rendering 2 full scenarios to 2 separate gamepads from the same unit. You know, this is about what I would expect. So what do you think? Like, if you were to play a multiplayer game, split screen, like, would you be expecting it to like take a hit like that?
You kind of have to expect it, but it's always disappointing if it curbs performance.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, in the N64 days, that was something that was just extremely apparent, where you're like, oh man, we can play on all these levels and have all these items, and then you get a second player and it's like, well, I can't really do that.
Yeah, I know Mario Kart 64 just doesn't have music if you play multiplayer. Like, I don't know if it was 2 players, but if you play 4 players for certain, like, there's just no soundtrack.
Yeah, which is like, is it really like that's what you needed to do to make it perform? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the music was taxing the processor too hard.
Really bizarre. Really strange. Um, Mario Kart Wii U, Mario Kart 8. Uh, I know that goes down to 30 frames a second from 60 or 59.95 or whatever people nitpick about. That was a big stink. People were really upset about the fact that the frame rate was less than half a frame away from being 60, which
Yeah.
I can't notice. Maybe somebody can. Maybe they're just claiming to, but whatever. I couldn't tell. Um, but when the game knocks down to 30 frames a second, sure, you notice it visually from a frame rate standpoint, but the fidelity is actually still really well matched. Things still have shadows, and there's still all kinds of like specular lighting and like reflections on the ground and in the water, and it looks surprisingly good. But it takes a frame rate hit instead of like a detail hit.
Yeah.
What would you choose?
I would always choose, like, you know me, I don't ever notice details. I would always pick details over frame rate.
Yeah, I actually would do the same. I think frame rate being locked down is better and more conducive to the game environment. Um, I think even F-Zero X ran at 60 frames a second when you were playing multiplayer.
I
If
think
I'm not
so.
mistaken. Yeah, that
Oh,
was really
excuse me.
impressive. Virtual Console, it actually takes hits, which is really strange. Doesn't run
Virtual
full 60.
Console is weird.
It is. It's amazing and mind-boggling at the same time. Mind-blogging.
They found that the code exists for Game Boy Advance Virtual Console.
For the Wii U?
I think for the 3DS.
I guess it would, because I mean they have like the Ambassador Virtual Console games that
Yeah.
are Game Boy Advance. I remember reading somewhere that they had found data somewhere for Super Nintendo games.
That
Like
I'm
some-
not sure about.
Like someone had like gone somewhere and seen something that said, Super Mario World coming soon. And I don't remember where I found this. It could have just been like a load of malarkey. But what if they were to launch these things with the new 3DS with more horsepower?
Do it.
Dude, I mean, because they're already theming the buttons after Super Nintendo control pad. But if they threw like Super Metroid and Earthbound and Mario World and Link to the Past on your 3DS, I'm already so in love with that system. It's not even funny. But if they threw Super Nintendo Virtual Console games on there, that might be it.
Yeah, that's if they had a decent library.
That might be the end of me. Oh, you want Chrono Trigger? Here you go. Yeah, like it would be lethal.
You'd be dead.
If they put Lethal Enforcers for the Super Nintendo on the 3DS, that would be it. Speaking of, I can't remember. Did you play Mad Dog McCree?
Oh yes, I didn't get a chance to do the review, but I
6 months, and I
Yeah.
totally forgot until just now. I don't even care, but I think I made you do it simply because I could.
yeah, that's still gonna happen. That review is still gonna happen.
Okay. Can you offer any words to our viewers who might be wondering about Mad Dog McCree on the 3DS?
The video is surprisingly crisp. The control scheme is not that bad. I still can't figure out how to beat the game, so if you can help me with that, that'd be great.
You have to shoot Mad Dog himself?
I can't. They're like, oh, the mine is booby trapped. Shoot this bucket, and I shoot the bucket, and the mine explodes, and I die. And I'm just like,
They're sabotaging you. You're not supposed to shoot the bucket. The bad guys are giving you the advice. That's like if Kefka flies up to Terra and he goes, put this gun in your mouth and pull the trigger and I'll die. Terra's like, all right.
so I'm reading the cutting room floor already has a big article about Smash for 3DS.
Oh yeah, apparently a bunch of sound files are coming out.
Yeah,
People are questioning.
boss battle,
Mm-hmm.
tourney, event
Yellow
match.
Team, 8-player Smash.
Let's see, special Smash, 8-player Smash. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I
It
wonder if
just
these are
says
features that
8-player
will be
Smash.
added in like an update.
Let's see, Smash World.
Hmm.
Ice Climbers chant. We already talked about that, not on
Oh,
the
yeah.
show, but
Yeah. That's an interesting one that came up.
Rob is different colors depending on which version of the game you have. He is Famicom colored in the Japanese version, and he is the NES gray on gray.
Oh, I suppose he defaults to, like
Yeah, it's the
his
default.
respective color. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna say he's a costume, but that makes sense. I think that's cool.
Since this All-Star trophy is meant to represent an alternate color scheme, the two regions have their colors reversed.
That's pretty cool. I'm glad they actually put the detail into that. There is, I would like to know your opinion on this. There is a detail that I am kind of sad about, and it's in the there's a mother stage in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and you play on Magic Hand, and so like you're hanging out, and like there's a little seashell houses, and Flying Man shows up periodically and comes and smashes things, and Dungeon Man walks around on the bottom of the screen, and you can land on his head, and sometimes gigantic tomatoes show up, or like a mobile sprout starts walking across the stage, and you can stand on it. And every now and then a giant octopus statue appears. Now, in the Japanese game Mother, too, it was a giant octopus statue, and then when they localized it, they turned it into like a pencil statue.
Yes.
And I honestly wish they would have taken the time for the North American release to turn it back into a pencil statue, because the majority of people who are playing this, that played Earthbound, played the American version with the pencil statue. So that makes it more nostalgic, and while, I think it's good to respect the Japanese origins of the game, I think it's also important to respect the players' nostalgia of what they actually experienced.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a really cool nod to us. Sort of like in Smash Brothers, I think it was Melee, they took out the seals and they replaced them with the little, Toki things or whatever, the little fuzzy white caveman guys.
Right.
And they actually straight up switched those out, Japanese origin or not. And, I do feel almost slighted in the fact that I played Mother or Earthbound as a kid, and pencil statues are part of my experience, but I'm experiencing the Japanese person's octopus instead.
That is a shame.
And not that that affects the experience, but it would have been a really cool nod. Because it's a lot funnier, I think, to be playing a game and suddenly a pencil statue shows up. Or an eraser statue or whatever. An eraser.
Yeah.
But, it's a little nitpicky things like that, sometimes it would be nice to just sort of see happen. That's alright, though.
So I'm looking. I finally got about the 3DS Game Boy Advance Virtual Console.
Okay.
The Ambassador programs are not actually emulated. They run on a different firmware.
Actually, I guess that makes sense, because if you close the system, it doesn't turn them off. It still thinks they're on. They're literally running as if they're just a Game Boy Advance file on a Game Boy Advance. And it's like closing an SP where, it doesn't trigger anything, nothing happens.
Yeah.
If you close your DS when a Game Boy game is running, nothing happens. It literally just keeps playing the Game Boy game. Huh. Okay. So there's signs to point towards a better emulation experience?
Yep.
Okay.
And more games.
Okay, because I know tomorrow, actually, last 2 weeks ago, I think Circle of the Moon came out for Wii U Game Boy Advance, and tomorrow Harmony of Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow are both coming out.
Ooh.
Which is tremendous, because those are great games.
Yeah, they are.
So, I'm actually really happy that those are showing up. I always like when third parties push their really big hitters out like that. So now I just need to see Urban Yeti, and we're good.
Yeah.
It's
Urban Yeti 3D.
Oh, I wish, man.
Urban Yeti versus Urban Champion.
Urban Yeti would win. We had a gentleman who came in today, and he was telling me all about how he used to love playing Urban Champion as a kid. And, obviously I'm not going to say anything, but
Yeah.
that is very impressive, because I've never heard that statement before.
Right.
So, but that's cool. Again, if somebody has an experience with the game that I didn't like, but they loved it, that's really cool to me, that games have that much variety and people have that much difference in terms of taste.
Yeah.
There really is something out there for everybody.
I think it's one of those things. It's just where were you at the time and what were your circumstances, and
Sure.
especially with 8-bit stuff, because you usually didn't have the luxury of having a giant library of games.
Right.
I remember when Deadly Towers came out, it was really well received. It's an epic adventure. You can explore all of these lands, and it's huge. And then Legend of Zelda came out, and they're like, the Deadly Towers game isn't very good.
Yeah. If you didn't have a standard of other 3D adventure games at that point, well, not 3D, but exploration based, then Deadly Towers, I'm sure, as an initial title, would be like, dude, this is really cool.
Yeah.
the reason I played Jaws, man. You know,
Yep.
I have nothing really great to say about it, but I played a lot as a kid, so I hold on to it. There you go. Goonies 2. I rented that game like crazy. But I still maintain that I love that game
Yeah.
for genuine reasons. Because Cyndi Lauper.
There needs to be more Cyndi Lauper games.
What if they made...
Time After Time needs to play when you beat Toxic Crusaders on the Sega Genesis.
I wish. I was going to say, what if they made a sequel to Sunday Funday called Manic Monday?
Well, that wasn't Cyndi Lauper, but I'd play it.
Who was that?
That was the Bengals?
Was it? Well, never mind. Bengals sounds like Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was her because it sounds really, really, really close. Okay, Girls Just Want to Have Fun 64.
Girls just want to have fun day.
Oh, okay. See, unlicensed.
Yeah.
Gonna run into some issues with that. Before I forget, Shane also followed up by saying Black Ops 2 may have had a lacking story, but I really liked how they implemented choice in a way that didn't feel like choice. And this is coming from someone who isn't a really big fan of Call of Duty.
I didn't really play Black Ops 2, so I can't really talk to that, but Spec Ops The Line, if you're into first-person shooters with hard choices, Spec Ops The Line.
There are two things I want to discuss now that you're mentioning games that I presume have guns in them. One of my employees was hanging out with me tonight at the store because we were just closing up, and like an hour before we closed, like nothing's going on, so we're just checking out stuff on YouTube. And he goes, "Did you play Sniper Elite V2?" And I was like,
"Oh man, did you?"
I was like, "No, I would not play that." And he goes,
"Yes, you would."
"Let me show you why you would play this." And I said, "Okay." And I understand now why I would play this game. So for those who don't know, which apparently is everybody but me, Sniper Cam, it's actually a feature that I remember seeing in Cabela's African Safari. It might have been in other Cabela games too. But if you get, like, I guess, a killing shot, you watch a slow motion replay of this bullet from any angle you want fly into somebody's body, and it sort of opens up their flesh, and you get to see their skeleton or organs, and then you get to watch the bullet fly into their body and then burst, like, their cheeks, and their teeth explode, and like brains fly out of their head, and the bullet starts like spinning out of control out of their body.
Yep.
And you just watch people die in very, very graphic ways.
Yes.
So, and I remember he showed me, like, and it plays like slow motion splattering sound effects.
Yeah.
And so there was like a dude, and this didn't make any sense to me at first, and I kind of understood what was going on, but this guy is like, he's on the hill, and he gets shot in the head, and boom, his brains are flying out, and the bullet starts spinning out of control after it hits him, but like it got to this weird angle, and I just saw like a car, and I was like, this is really strange. And then you hear like this weird splatter, like someone is smashing ice cream all over a microphone, and I was like, this is really weird. And then the bullet flew out of the car and hit this other dude in the head, and his teeth just explode, and like he flies backwards. And I was like, okay, this is truly, truly the greatest.
Yeah, Sniper Elite V2 is a lot of fun.
It looked great.
I don't know if you saw in those videos, but it also renders balls.
I saw that because a dude shot Hitler's nuts off and just fell over.
I challenged my friend, because my friend is really good at first-person shooters, and he had that DLC, and I was like, I want to watch you snipe both of Hitler's balls and kill him. 'Cause you can just get one ball, but sometimes you can get the double ball shot and just pierce one nut and go right into the second one. And so he spent like an hour and a half like getting the perfect shot, and he finally killed Hitler by blowing his testicles out.
Yeah, and he just flies forward, and then just gush as his nuts explode, and he's just that is how World War II was concluded. Is just one lone man was like, I'm not just gonna kill him. I'm gonna do this right.
Never going to have any children.
So not only was that really cool, but then it prompted me to say, all right, so you've shown me this. Now, have you seen Blitz the League?
Yes.
And to those of you who do not know, Blitz the League is a rated M football game because Midway or whoever decided that like there are not enough people who play football that are getting like the visceral action that they want. And so in this game, like you can like destroy each other like Mortal Kombat style. You can like watch people's skeletons like snap in half as like you fumble a ball and somebody sacks you. But there's this one where this dude, he's running with the ball, and then like some other player grabs him and almost like suplexes him or pile drives him. I actually don't remember exactly what action he did. Slams him into the ground, and then the camera like zooms into like this guy's body, and you see a super gory vision of like one of his nuts, and it's like sort of like pulsating around, and then blood just starts squirting out of it, like it squirms and it explodes. And then a bunch of white shit flies everywhere, which I just assume is semen or something, because the tube was severed. And it's like it's as gory in detail as it possibly gets. And so number one, I was very impressed when this initially happened, and he had no idea that this was even a thing. So, also, Shane Kelly mentions that Hitler only has one ball, which I suppose historically is something. I remember reading that as well too. Maybe he only had one ball because of this sniper incident.
Yeah.
We're just playing off of like a super what if.
Right. What if that sniper got both balls?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, this is where history, like the timelines, deviate. Like the Hyrule Historia. This is an alternate future where Hitler had both of his nuts shot off.
Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Speaking of Blitz League, have you heard of Backbreaker?
No.
Backbreaker is a football game for the PS3 and the Xbox 360 that has two features that will maybe make it the best football game for you.
I'm excited.
It's a horrible, everyone says it's like not a good football game at all, but it has an amazing logo editor.
All right.
And the tackling and body collision animations are not canned. Every time
good.
two players hit, it's a unique physical reaction.
Oh, good. Super ragdoll.
Yeah.
That is the number one selling point in the game is good ragdoll. Now the second selling point is if you can watch somebody's skeletal structure get ruptured by a projectile. But,
that I'm not sure about.
Yeah, probably not. But those are the two features that I want in every, like Smash Brothers. If whenever Pikachu got punched in the face, like you just got to see his skeleton just shatter and his brains leak out of his mouth. I think that's a much needed feature. Okay.
So it was it used the Euphoria engine, which was used in Grand Theft Auto 4,
Right.
Force Unleashed, and Red Dead Redemption.
Okay, because I remember playing it. Well, the first time I saw Euphoria in Grand Theft Auto 4, and you know, like you walk into someone and they sort of like shuffle to the side because like you're moving them, and you could just sort of like push people around and they wouldn't fall. They would just sort of like stumble to the side, and eventually, like you'd push somebody and they'd launch their coffee cup in the air, and then they would like fall on the ground and die. You actually, I think, throw coffee cups at people and knock them over, if I'm not mistaken. And that was always really funny, too. I don't know if I remember that in Red Dead, but I exploited a lot of weird physics things in that. Like with horses, we'd used to play this game where you'd whistle for your horse, and he'd come charging down the hill, and you'd have to like take a knife and like try to throw it right into his forehead and kill him, and see if he could land close to you but not like on you. So it was almost like horseshoes, like ultra horseshoes.
Horse knives.
Horse knives, yeah. And then we had another game where someone would stand on the edge of a cliff, and someone would stand at the bottom of a cliff. The person on the edge of the cliff at the very top would stand there and whistle for the horse, and the horse would always walk a little bit past you, so you'd want to be as close to the cliff as possible as you could without falling off. So when the horse showed up, it would go to the edge of the cliff and then just tumble over, and the other person had to try to shoot the horse out of the air. And this is our meta game that we had decided upon for Red Dead, which I thought was really fun. So.
Alright, I found a video of... It's got dubstep music, so you can just mute it. But I found a video of Backbreaker hits.
Okay,
Big
Backbreaker
hits.
Let me see. Backbreaker hits. Okay. Well, what I can do is I can actually move my camera around so people can, like, take a look at it. Alright. Well, here I am for now. Let's get some Backbreaker hits going on. And I assume you put it onto Facebook?
Yep.
Or no? Okay. Alright. Manic Monday. Okay. Here's a video of Mike Chang. I don't know if you can see this very well.
Oh yeah, that dude just eats stuff usually.
Yeah, he just like has a video of him just eating like potatoes and like bacon and like steaks, and I just go, oh, that looks really tasty. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Here we go. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Boosh. So, You can see dudes stumbling around. Goon just falls on the ground.
This is a good section here with people just like tripping and shit.
Knocking dudes over. Okay, so I'm down with Ragdoll. Just fall on his face. This is insurance fraud mode from Saints Row.
Yeah, basically insurance fraud football.
Okay. Yeah, I'd buy this. And you said the logo editor was really good too.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah, I'd play the F out of this. Okay. Alright. Excellent. So if anybody's wondering, backbreaker football.
Yep. It's the second football game I'd recommend on the Xbox 360.
Besides the Blitz League?
No, actually, Blitz would be third, I think.
Okay, what's first?
I have to find the name of it because it's really like I didn't even know this game existed, but then I was like, that's an actual game that was sold for the.
Was it the Black College Football Experience?
Yeah, Black College Football Experience, the Doug Williams edition.
Because that's the game that red ringed Dan's Xbox. Yeah, so I think that they detected it. They were like, "You haven't played a single Madden game. You are not of the right color to be able to play this game," and so it like just shut him down immediately.
It's good. It's on Amazon. It's used. No, it's new for $9.75. It's used for $23.79.
That's a weird discrepancy.
A new copy of that game is like a third of the cost of a used copy.
Well, people only like it when it's been played and enjoyed. It has like a new type of data built into the disc, which the disc contains more data the more you play it. Yeah. Advancements in technology.
I don't even recognize these logos. Who is?
I don't know.
Who made this?
It's a thing. It's a thing somehow.
It was made by Energement, spelled Nerjyzed,
Energies.
and published by Asper Media.
Asperger's Media. Shane Kelly says, "I never thought I would see the day when somebody else knew what Blitz the League and Backbreaker was, and collectively,
we did that.
We understood. So that's the Cyber Zone's forte." Yeah, Blitz the League. I had never heard of Backbreaker, but Blitz is one that we have had at the store for so long, and I keep trying to tell people. And when I was showing him, like right after this customer had walked in, he was trying to explain. Adam was trying to explain why we were laughing at this football game and why we had it out on the counter and why we were discussing it. And he's like, because you can rupture people's testicles and they explode into a big bloody mess all over inside of your body.
And you can do all kinds. Like you can do steroids to recover from injuries faster.
Yeah. Rated M football game, guys.
On the this is a sentence from the Wikipedia page. Occasionally, players may be asked if they would like to spend money to send prostitutes to the opposing team's room before a game, which greatly reduces their strength on game day.
You think so? Do you think the extra testosterone would make them stronger?
Maybe. Well, maybe they're expelling that testosterone inside of the prostitute.
Oh, that's true. Just okay. I think that makes sense. Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
There's also Blitz the League 2.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Wait, I knew that because we were waiting for a copy to get traded in so we could play it.
And it has let's see. It has a team called the Cleveland Steamers.
You remember when I think it was like NFL 2K4 or 5 came out and it had the banana hammocks and it was like Steve-O was like the Jackass team?
Yeah.
And then that's when EA was like, we're not going to allow this to happen anymore. We're just going to buy the rights to the NFL. And then everybody was like, God damn it.
Yeah, that was too bad.
The 2K games were way better.
They really were.
Games. So, That sucks. That's a crappy monopoly to enforce. Oh well.
Yep, 2K5 had a celebrity game involving Jamie Kennedy. Wow. Jamie Kennedy, Steve-O, David Arquette, Nico Yazawa, Funkmaster Flex, or Carmen Electra. I don't think you can call that a celebrity game.
No. No, that's a stretch.
Although one of the team's names was the Upper Darby Cheesesteaks.
Hmm.
So that's pretty great.
That's a good name. There are some games out there. Was it Death Ball? The arcade game? Where it's like a football game?
I remember Pigskin, which was like the medieval one.
There was Pigskin. There was one other one that I'm trying to think of.
Blood Bowl?
Maybe. It might be Blood Bowl. There was, oh no, that's... Let's see. No, it wasn't Blood Bowl, 'cause it was like an old arcade game. Let's see. So see Mutant League Football showing up right here. I don't think it was Pigskin. I want to say it was like a different one, but I also could just be totally wrong. And I had seen it at the arcade in Chicago when I was out there. Dang it.
I found a complex article called the 15 Most Violent Sports Games.
15 most violent, okay.
SSX. Red Card Soccer. Which I guess is like... It just has a screenshot of a guy getting kicked in the face.
I'm glad soccer games have almost become parodies of themselves. Like people like them, and that's cool. But like because of like the physics glitches, it seems like they get posted far more frequently because there's something going on incorrectly.
Yeah.
In the game. Shane Kelly asks, "What about the game adaptation of Celebrity Deathmatch?"
Celebrity Deathmatch or Fight Club? Which would you rather play?
I told you the story about Fight Club, I'm sure. At the store?
I think so.
Okay. Well, to anybody who's watching, God help you. We had a modded Xbox at the store, and you could we could throw games on it like to display for people so they could try them out, and so we burned a copy of Fight Club to the Xbox because I was like, I don't know if anybody's gonna play this, but we might as well just toss it on there and we'll put it on to be funny. So the game has a built-in copy protection, and when you're playing it, and the system knows that it's modded or copied, you can only select like two characters. I think it's like Tyler, and Bob. Maybe I actually don't remember, to be totally honest. It was just two characters from the movie book. And the thing is, when you attack your opponent, you can't do damage to them. And when your opponent attacks you, they kill you in one hit. Okay? So the copy protection is that this game is impossible. And we had a customer come in one day, and he tried the game out, and he inevitably lost just 5 matches in a row, and was like, "Oh, this game's really cool. Do you have a copy?" And I was like, "Man, like if that's the selling point, you know, I don't want to deny this guy." And obviously, he's going to take it home. The experience would have to be better than that, but I can't imagine playing a game where it's impossible to win and thinking, "I need this." But he did.
Hey. He probably got home and was like, "Man, this is easy."
Yeah, this is not hard enough for me. Celebrity Deathmatch. Jeez. I don't want to play either of those games. I feel overall the novelty of Celebrity Deathmatch would wear out way faster. And while Fight Club I don't think was very good, as a whole I think it would probably... I don't want to play either of these games, but like if I had to make this like choice, like to get into it and like develop like a meta game with like my friends or something,
Yeah.
I would probably choose Fight Club. Not that I think it's very deep, but I think I'd probably enjoy it more as a whole than Celebrity Deathmatch.
What about Simpsons Wrestling?
It's for PlayStation.
Yes.
I never actually played it, so I can't say All I know is that it is generally poorly received. This is the only accurate thing I could tell you. Having no first-hand experience, though, I'm probably more interested in Simpsons characters than I am Celebrity Deathmatch characters. Even though I'm not like that into The Simpsons, I like it. I just don't really watch it. So we'll choose Simpsons. Those sound bites would probably get old very fast. I guess in either game, they're gonna get pretty grating pretty quickly.
Well, apparently it's one of the few things that was positive about the game. Critics said the audio track was very good.
Oh, good. Like music or just like audio quality in general?
Yeah.
All right. Well. Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Reiner. Game Informer's Andrew Reiner said that thought the audio was fun because the comedy is straight from the TV show, and said the soundtrack was good. So I guess music and audio?
Did Danny Elfman do the soundtrack?
Probably
Or
not.
Alf Clausen. Alf Clausen was the guy who did the music for the original Alf, and he also did a lot of the Simpsons music.
That's interesting.
Also, I found it is. I found this. It sounded almost condescending, but like I can't tell and I don't care. So anyway, I found out that Danny Elfman is apparently doing the soundtrack for 50 Shades of Grey.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. I'd heard this from several people, so either like everybody read the same Facebook post or this is actually happening. But I'm trying to imagine like if you're watching this movie where I guess people are having sex. I don't know. I don't know the deal with 50 Shades of Grey. Other than it seems just like widely more publicized than like a normal trashy novel.
Well, do you know how it got its start?
No. I know almost nothing about it.
It was originally a Twilight fan fiction. Like, literally. And it was really popular among Twilight fan fiction, and so some publisher who had the foresight and no soul was like, let's just change all the names.
Okay.
Boom.
Done. Is it like still a vampire?
No.
Just a dude?
Yep, just a dude.
Does he glitter?
You might.
Okay. That's easy. Dang it. I wrote like 4 Twilight fanfictions. You've read them.
I have.
That's a shame.
Gotta talk to your agent.
I know. I don't know who my agent is.
Mulder.
Mulder, Scully. Okay, fine. Well, I guess I missed the boat on that one. Interesting story, though. I didn't realize that. But, have you seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes?
No.
Did you see Rise?
No.
Well, next time you're in town, I know what's happening. Just so you know what's happening. Okay?
Okay.
So, KanjiCon
It's coming up.
Do you know if you're going to be able to make it up for that?
Yeah, I should be able to.
Okay. Well, then you're really making it up here for the Planet of the Apes double feature, and we will happen to go to KanjiCon together.
We'll screen Planet of the Apes at
Okay.
KanjiCon.
Okay. Screen a movie that's been out for like 4 years. I'm cool with that, by the way.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
That'll be the tournament that we do.
Planet of the Apes tournament?
Yeah.
Who can watch it the fastest?
Who can make it the ape? Who can make an ape?
Who can make an ape? Like out of clay or like birth an ape?
Mentally.
Who can manifest an ape? Okay.
Have you played the video game?
Yeah, actually I have it. I ended up grabbing it, and it's sort of like, how to describe it? Tomb Raider, but you can't like jump. You just sort of walk around and pick things up in the lab. It's not too great, but actually I should probably stream myself playing it at some point, because I'm sure like I'll have to get like a big list, sort of like what you do. Is I'll get a big list of like the worst games that I own, and I'll be like, if somebody wants to donate, I'll play one of these.
Yeah.
Because that's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
you just play games you really like, but you have like a tier system. You're like, oh, okay, for like $2, I'll play this game that's not as good, but it's still pretty good, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
I could do that. I could do that. So Shane Kelly says Superman 64 or Big Rigs.
I'm gonna say Superman 64.
Do you? I think we ask this all the time, or we discuss this all the time, but like, truly the worst game you've ever played. I think sometimes worst games get over dramatized a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like people get really mad over certain things when it's just when a bad game is simply a game with a feature they don't like. You know, some people go Skyrim is the shittest game I've ever played, and it's like that's, you know, you might not like it, but from a lot of standpoints, that is, it cannot be the worst game ever made. You know, because the graphics are very good and the music has like a score and quality that you don't find in other things. And whether you like the game is one thing, but there are games where characters and control is so much worse than this that it's almost insane to make these kind of proclamations. Superman 64, by no means is it like fun, but I'm trying to think. I'm sure I've played games that actually I hate. I've never actually played Big Rigs, to be totally honest.
Nor have I.
So that's a tough call. Maybe I'm just lucky that I never played Big Rigs, but I did play Superman 64.
Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. It's a PC game.
Oh.
It looks kind of like Carmageddon with trucks.
How did you feel about playing games like Mega Race? Did you ever play Mega Race?
I always wanted to play Mega. I was like really hyped to play Mega Race.
Okay, because like the concept is that you're actually sort of playing a car moving on a pre-rendered background to make it look really fancy, right?
Yeah.
And like it looked great. I mean, screenshots especially, but the illusion of amazing things happening.
It reminds me of, you remember those handheld games where it was like a little plastic car, and then it would just like, there would be like road, like a picture of a street, and you would just sort of like try and stay on it, and that's...
Yes, yeah. There's truly nothing to it, but it was like just an illusion. Yeah. That's an interesting idea. And it's kind of cool that somebody even thought of that for somebody who's like, attention span or attention to detail is really minimal. But I mean, at the time, I remember being blown away with seeing something like that. There were even some Super Nintendo games that I know gave a lot of illusions of doing way more than they thought. I think there was like a Toy Story racing game that did something similar, if I'm not mistaken. Like it used a lot of pre-rendered stuff to make it look like you were, holy crap, I'm going through this thing and it's beautiful and amazing. There was like, it was a Super Nintendo like NASCAR style racing game, like Mario Andretti or something like that. And it used a bunch of pre-rendered stuff, and it was going off of the SGI Workstation Donkey Kong thing. So when you looked at it, you're like, dude, this looks so great. But the gameplay was still really just, race on small tile sets that were just placed together to make it look nice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like an actual cool 3D track. Incidentally, this is just tangent central right here. The game on the Super Nintendo that impressed me one of the most, it was very early on, was I think it was NCAA basketball.
Oh yeah, that game ran like crap, but it was pretty.
Just the mode 7, you're like, there's literally nothing but the court and the players, but it's a 3D basketball game.
Yep.
And I remember thinking that was so cool. Not even very good, but I was more impressed with that than just like a standard fixed camera court.
Yeah, it runs at like 5 frames per second, but
yeah. It was early on. They were trying, and that's cool at least. Also, to go back on Super Nintendo games that were sort of like gems, I really played a lot of Stunt Race FX.
Me too.
Dude, like that game, I think that should get a lot more acclaim than it does.
I agree, and I think the frame rate is really the only problem with that game.
It's very bad.
It's got great music. The track design is really good. It's essentially virtual racing.
Yeah. And you have, 4 vehicles, 3 vehicles? They all play very radically different. So you have your monster truck, your little coupe, and the motorcycle? Or was there one more?
There was the motorcycle was the secret car. There was the coupe, the F1 car, and
F1. That's right.
and
Okay.
the four-wheeler.
Four-wheeler. Shane brings up they used to own hard driving for the Genesis, and I remember playing that game on Visual Principle as well.
Yeah.
But like, there's literally nothing to it. It's almost just a technical showcase and nothing more.
Have you ever, going back to Stunt Race FX, have you ever seen what overclocked Super FX games look like?
No.
I'm trying to find like a good example, because people have taken to overclocking the actual chip and making it run at higher megahertz, and it ups the frame rate.
I would be very impressed to see games run like that on the Super Nintendo. That'd be very interesting.
I think I've found a playthrough of Star Fox overclocked. Let's see. Star Fox cartridge overclocked to 42 megahertz, which is double speed, and it's on an SNES Junior with a better video output. Oh, so it's on the mini. It's on the mini SNES.
Okay.
And he actually has a picture of the cart. Because when you, the crazy thing is when you overclock the cart, you actually have to install like a fan on the cartridge.
Because it runs so hot.
Yeah.
It's a weird idea.
But let me send this to you. It takes like a good minute for the video to start, but you can kind of tell that the frame rate is higher.
Okay. I'll
You can definitely tell, actually.
Oh, there's an ad, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Dude, he's a skinhead.
Yeah, he is. He has a first name too, and it's weird. It's like seriously.
Seriously clean?
Yeah.
Weird. Also, Star Fox, this is really impressive. Huh. It's almost hard to tell what's going on, because I'm not used to the game running like this.
Right? It's like, man, that's like Star Fox Turbo. I can't handle it.
Yeah. Alright. I can dig that. Very good. Okay. Well, it's going to be that time. I gotta get like some actual food in me.
Yeah, I've got some work to do, and then I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, see? That's what happens. But it's been nice actually getting back to the Cyber Zone. It's been a while since we've done this.
It has.
So, you know, we weren't quite as abstract tonight in terms of concept. There's a couple things that came out that were pretty good, but
we had a lot of. Well, that's what happens when we're gone for a long time. Is we have so much news to cover.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to catch up on. We didn't even catch up on a lot of it. We're like, these games came out a couple weeks ago, and nipples are big, and cheese comes out. That's dangerous.
That's it.
Yep, that's it. This is the two facts. All right. Well, unless there's anything else that you want to add.
Cyberzone Live in 3 weeks.
Cyberzone Live, November 1st or 2nd. I actually don't know the date. We'll post it soon, and we'll see if we can get a panel together. So, yeah, look forward to that. All one of you, which is probably just me, on the page on accident. That's contributing to one of our viewers. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys for watching this evening, and hopefully you take away some good information. I do encourage a lot of active discussions, so if people want to continue to add questions, Shane is very active this evening. That was always really nice. Continue to do so, because we like responding to people and sort of going off of that active feedback just as much as we just like talking to each other.
It makes our job a lot easier.
That's true. That's true. We can keep things topical.
Like an ointment.
An ointment. I love ointment. Okay. So, with that, I think we're going to bid you guys adieu.
Erykah Badu.
I think we're going to go to an Erykah Badu concert tonight and get her autograph. So, I'll upload it later for you guys to check out. I'll fax it to any one of you who wishes. Alright. I hate, also, by the way, is that I was talking to a company, they're like, hey, we really want to check your credit card statement and get you a lower rate. And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds good. We'll look into it at the very least. And they said, can you fax over a statement? And I said, no, because I don't own a fax machine, because 2014. So,
I had an issue with a bill collector. that was harassing me, like, unlawfully.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called the Attorney General, and they're like, yeah, fill out this paperwork and fax it to us. And I was like, okay. And it was like a 5-page document, but it was a long-distance fax, and it cost me like $27 to fax it.
No, that's so dumb. That's so stupid. I'll scan it and email it to you, but we don't have a fax machine. And that's all there is to it. I'm sorry. I will not go to FedEx and scan this for you into a fax machine. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Shane asks if we've considered guests, and we actually have done guests on the podcast before. It is something that we do every so often. We've had Nico, our musical guru, Wii Music guy. We've had Caitlin Oliver, the world record champion holder from Splatterhouse. I actually got to watch her play a couple weeks ago in Chicago and see her attempt. You know, she wasn't doing like a serious attempt, but she did. She still was great at the game, so she played and did extremely well.
Yeah.
We've had our friend Manish from England pop on the show, and we talked for a while. We've had like one or two other people.
Smooth McGroove.
Smooth McGroove, ish.
Yeah.
Sort of, you know.
A pre-recorded guest.
Pre-recorded guest, yeah, exactly. Just videotape him like sneakily like at the park, and then just put it on the show and dub over it.
But we're always looking for new guests and new fun things to do and
yeah,
games.
Yep. So we can always figure out what we're going to end up doing in the future and keep you in mind. So I mean, just message me on Facebook and we can sort of like discuss fundamentals of what we might be doing and when, and if it's into our schedule, which is very loose, but you know, there's still certain things we do piece together solidly. So once again, thank you guys for watching, and continue to support the show, ask us questions. You know, like, the more feedback we can get from you guys, the better, because that's really the only way for us to improve the show. Otherwise, we'll keep doing what we do, which is funny and fun, but I think, you know...
If you give us copies of Big Rigs, we'll play it.
That's true. I should actually probably be the one supplying copies of Big Rigs, I think is what it comes down to. But I guess we don't carry that, so never mind. If someone buys me a copy, I'll play it. Alright, so on that note, we're out of here, everybody.
Don't touch it.
Do not. Alright, until next time, we'll find out if you've touched it or not.
We're looking.